The daisies
You want to enjoy?
are going to do the pledge.
Okay.
Reese.
Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, April 8th Select Board meeting. We are being recorded, and we would like to welcome some folks up who are going to help us in the pledge. Okay, just one for now.
Just you, kiddo.
All right, here we go.
Whoa. Oh,
You can use that microphone right there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Allie.
Wait, come back. Do you want to say who you are and why you're here with us? Yes, she does.
You go, girl.
I'm a daisy, and my name's Hallie, and
There you go. That's Hallie, and she's a Daisy Girl Scout. Thank you, Hallie, for your help. We are going to begin with the town administrator's report, and then we will address all these other wonderful scouts in the room. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'll be quick. This feels so high now. So just wanted to give a few brief updates on HR. We've extended an offer for a new assistant town accountant. We are very excited. We plan to be introducing them to you in the coming weeks, but want to make sure all notifications are made with their current employer. We think it's going to be a great addition to the team. We've also been continuing to interview qualified candidates for the new customer service rep, which will help manage that effort with Chrissy. Marianne, Patrick, and Liam have all been really involved in that. And finally, I just wanted to sort of tease or share where we are now. We've had ongoing discussions about regionalization opportunities with some upcoming vacancies in neighboring communities. I plan to be coming back to you in the next few weeks with more details on that as we try to figure out where there might be opportunities to sort of share a full-time role at the department head level and then have some staff in each community that handle sort of the day-to-day. So again, we'll have a few more details on that, but it's the very early stages of the discussion, and it seems like a pretty great opportunity at this point, so we'll see where it lands. Wanted to highlight an upcoming event. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee is having the Repair Cafe this Saturday at the Senior Center from 9 to 12. You can check out their webpage, or you can email SWAC, S-W-A-C, at swampscottma.gov to schedule a time for your repair this weekend between 9 and noon. As many folks may have noticed, we have finally updated the website as well. The changeover from the old version to the new one is complete. I would say we soft launched it 2 weeks ago and identified quite a few problems and things that didn't point where they should, and we've been working to remedy those one by one. One of the big outstanding items that we currently have, and I've heard from folks throughout the last couple of weeks, we really need to get Google to do a new crawl, basically, of the website because it's pointing to old or dead links. But in the interim, what you can do is search in the search bar on our website. That gets you right where you need to be. But if you're, sort of conditioned to go to Google or Bing or something like that, it will sometimes take you to the wrong place right now. We're working to remedy that. The user interfaces require a little new learning on where things should be, but it's really a much better organization of the information in the long run. It will help us maintain records over time and make things more easily accessible. We're also asking that everyone go and sign up for the news alerts, which are opportunities for us to be communicating non-emergency information, whether it's something like the Repair Cafe, an updated agenda or minutes if folks are interested in it. But we really need you to go sign up at the website and choose what you want to be getting communications on. So please check that out. I again want to thank Diane, Jody, Charlotte, Shannon, and the entire host of others that helped us get this launched. We continue to work very hard on it, and so I really appreciate the effort that has been done and that is yet to come on that. And then please feel free to send me a note, and I know some folks in this room have already done so, when you find things that don't work or things that you would like us to change or consider making for a future improvement. All of these are opportunities for us to continue to improve it. Finally, on the Hawthorne, I wanted to give an update. We've agreed in principle to the terms. We're at the point now of drafting with the hope that we can have something back before you all on the 15th. It aligns very closely with the lease as drafted in the RFP. We've had really good discussions so that both sides understand where we're coming from. But as I said, our goal is to have something next week. If not, it would be that one at the end of the month. But we're working towards next week currently to get everything drafted and in front of you all for the final vote and ratification. And beyond that, I'm happy to take any questions. I don't want to get in the way of the real show tonight. It's sitting waiting in the room here.
I just have a quick follow-up question about the lease. Then, is the ball in our court or their court? Their court. I assume we've given red lines back. They're gonna respond.
They responded, and
Okay.
our attorneys are currently redrafting to.
Great.
and-
So then we can transition straight to long-term RFP
Correct.
post lease signature. That's the plan.
And so far on that front, I had one meeting along with Marzi with Colliers just to see what type of support they may be able to give us, whether it's looking at potential value or what could be done. They've worked, the group that we met with, and we intend to meet with others before we would move forward with anything, has worked with like the city of Portland and Maine with the old courthouse there, because it's a similar example where it's a central location in the community. They're not looking necessarily for highest and best use to just put as much housing there as possible that would get them the highest revenue. It's trying to manage community expectations along with revenue generation and the use within the context of the community where it is. We plan to talk to others in similar skill sets to figure out who might be the best partner to help us in that. And then we've also had community members reach out, offer their support in both the drafting of a potential RFP or participating in any way that they can.
Okay, wonderful.
And is the scope of what we expect to happen there generally in line with what we've discussed publicly? Is there any real change in
With the
nature
lease?
of what the Swampscott Center for the Performing Arts would be doing?
No, it is in line with what was presented and what was discussed.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Excuse me. Any update on the Archer Street Woods?
Gino and Marzi were out there earlier this week. I think Tony Bandowitz may have been with them as well. If not, may have made a separate trip with Marzi. What we're working on right now is coordinating closely with our contractors and consultants to make sure that we're verifying sort of where there were wetland delineations and everything like that to make sure we're within the proper scope and remedy any issues, and also working with Tony and the Concom on a similar request. I know the contractor was planning to be out there with Marzi and Gino to talk about materials, because that's an ongoing concern as well, to figure out what the final sort of treatment is at the entranceways. And we would plan to be back to you. Right now, we're paused as we verify all of that information around wetlands and materials and uses to make sure that everyone's on the same page going forward.
Got it. So you may have an update for us next.
Yeah, I would plan to speak to you about it again going forward, whether it's a week from now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, wherever we need that update, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
And we had quite a few, obviously, community members reach out from that neighborhood. So once that information is gathered and we have clear answers for some of the outstanding questions that the community members have, maybe getting together one sheet or a community meeting so that they can understand the answers to their questions so that they feel heard also.
I think it would be both would be most useful, because I coordinated with David on outreach to those that had contacted us.
Yep.
We have been in touch with anyone that I got an email from or a call from, and also I know David had heard directly from folks as well. So I think the one sheet and an opportunity to do something in person would give the folks that are interested and concerned but may not have the time to be there, and those that are more closely aligned. So sort of same message in 2 different locations to make sure it gets out.
Perfect.
So have we stopped work there until?
It's paused right now, yes.
Paused, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we
Thank you.
actually have public comment available. If anybody is here for public comment, 3 minutes, you'll approach Hallie's microphone, state your name and your address.
Hello, Joe Doulette, 148 Elmwood Road. Among other things, I'm the theater guy, and it's my responsibility to let everybody know about some awesome theater stuff coming up this week. So, number one is the High School Musical. It's the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. That's tomorrow and Friday night. It's a wonderful show. It's one act, so not too long to sit through, and it will feel like a beautiful time. Lights and sound, again, amazing. They've really used what the town has invested to its extent. So if you want to see kind of what that brought. And then on Sunday, the Blue Big Band, not the Big Blue Band, but the Blue Big Band is the Swampscott Community Jazz Orchestra, 2 p.m. An opening act by the lead singer of Turtle on the String, Aria, and a quartet, and then the Blue Big Band will be playing Duke Ellington's Far East Suite. Will be a fantastic show. So hope you all can make either one of those or both of those events. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And seeing no additional comments, we will move on to old and new business and the presentation of our scout plaques. Is that you or Mary Ellen?
Mary Ellen's starting.
Mary Ellen's going to start.
So, thank you everybody for coming. This is pretty exciting. We've got a two-part series here. First, we're going to start with our newest Eagle Scout. It's my honor to present our newest Eagle Scout proclamation to Adrian Laporte of Troop Number 53 here in Swampscott. And tonight for the presentation, we are going to present it from our own Eagle. We only have one and only Eagle Scout on our board here, and that's you.
That's me? I know. I got it, yeah.
So earning the rank of Eagle Scout represents years of dedication, service, and personal growth. Adrian has demonstrated perseverance, initiative, and a strong commitment to the values that Scouting upholds. We also wish to acknowledge the guidance and support of his troop leadership, whose mentorship played an important role in helping him reach these milestones. Scoutmaster David Laporte and the Assistant Scoutmasters Jim Cristiano, Steve Hutchinson, Chuck Page, Benjamin Pomeroy, Jacob Warner, and Larry Zoll. On behalf of the Select Board, it's my privilege to present, well, this is actually you.
It's my line, I think.
You take that line.
So Adrian,
Come on down.
Would you like
come
to
on
come?
down. Adrian.
All right.
So Adrian, I'll try to speak loud.
Here, Adrian, if
On
you back
behalf-
up a little, this will look much better.
There
Doug,
we
you
go.
move forward, and that way somebody will.
On behalf of the
and-
Select Board, it's
Good.
my privilege to present this proclamation in recognition of Adrian Laporte's outstanding accomplishment and his positive contributions to our community. Congratulations, Adrian. It is customary for us to have you say a little bit about, you have like a big project. That's right, sir. Yeah, would you like to share a little bit with the community about what the project is?
You can, there,
Oh,
oh,
you
yep,
talk
you
about
can use
your
that one.
project.
My project?
After, we'll talk about Doug after.
Alrighty. So my project was a restoration of a World War I cannon in the local cemetery. So that was getting a new coat of paint on it, repriming it, repainting it to be a nice historical color. We have wheels that have just arrived, so we're going to put those on hopefully in the next day or two. And I also worked with the Rotary Club to get a plaque funded to actually get the names of the fallen from the First World War on the plaque. But it's been a great experience. And yeah, thank you very much for this. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great job. So next, what we're going to do is, before we start next, just want to thank Shannon O'Leary and Diane Marchese for working so hard at making this happen, running around and getting the names, and also the scout leaders, all the scout leaders in Swampscott for advancing names. Tonight, we're presenting a plaque that has the names of every Eagle Scout and Gold Star winner. That's a Girl Scout equivalent to the Eagle Scout since 1925.
Whoa.
So that's 101 years of Swampscott scouting achievement. And tonight, to start the presentation, we will have one of our own homegrown scouts, Evan Siegel, and Evan will begin the reading. What we're going to do is we're just going to quickly read off all these names. Every scout has a list of names, and in honor of all of these people who have achieved something, we're going to bang this out, and then these plaques will end up hanging at Town Hall starting tomorrow. So, Evan, I just want to say one more thing, is when the director of DPW heard that Evan was going to be on this plaque and he was going to be here tonight, he was very kind to make sure that I understood, and everybody understands, what an intricate part in the success of DPW Evan Siegel is. So it's pretty exciting. All right, Evan, you want to come down? And then you folks, you guys want to, and gals want to start lining up behind Evan so we can start reading these off?
I have Daniel Cahill, James Devaney, David Guerin, David Shepard, Edward Shepard, Charles Carlson, Peter Gross, Danielle Matthews, Andrew Brandt, Stephen Godman, Matthew Havlicek, Buckley Withrow, Evan Siegel, Charles Janest, and Andrew Neiman.
Robert Calhoun, Albert Gagney, Carl Ward, Ralph Day, Harold Austin, Joseph Agner, Fred Burke.
Why don't you come around the, why don't you just go around the back side of the stand with Evan? Very good, thank you.
Thomas Hutchinson, William Warschneid, Mark Nichols, Thomas Collin, Kenneth Wickstorm, Anthony Bartow, Wallace Graydinger.
Richard Olson, Robert Petrillo, Floyd Webster, Richard Hakes, Summer Kraft, Barton Egnier, Albert DeVitt, Robert Webster, Lawrence Levins, Dean Sargent, Kenneth Robinson, Donald Webster, James Clark, Richard Woodman.
Kenneth Giffman, Stanley Stocka, John Osteen, I think I pronounced that wrong, Robert Season, Alan, Alex, Richard Brown, Donald McBridge, J.E. Deckwith, E.D. Donnelly, Edward Felon, Donald McFarlane, Donald Summer, Austin Atwood, Daniel Wormwood.
Good job.
George Jackson, Neil Bornstein, Harvey Bloch, Glenn Shepard, Howie Seligman, Paul Duberstein, Larry Gradis, Peter Meyer, William Chipman, Michael Garatino, Peter Hansen, Shearman, Klebelnik, Bruce Baum, Russell Manker.
Jody Barner, Mark Kaplan, Joseph O'Connor, Andrew Woods, Sean Berry, Dante Diamato, Kevin Callahan, Gerald Schwartz, Stephen Serby, Jeffrey Fieldstein, Eugene Ellis, Gregory Miller, James St. George, and Henry Lander.
John Julian, Jonathan Austin, John Pedro, Michael Elopoulos, Theodore Rogers, Douglas Atkins, Paul Callahan, Andrew Dunphy, Kevin Barry, Keith Callahan, Daniel O'Connor, John Lacey, Verne Gifford, Thomas Nelvis.
Calvin Lamb, Richard DeFrancisco, Laura Keenan, Julie Locke, Brittany Roberts, Arthur Duffy, Felix Gorovodsky, Stephen Page, Mark Goldstein, Adam Shiloh, William Treviskio, Amshula David Carr, Genya Crossman, Grace De Benedetto.
Christopher Wiley, Eric Austin, William Rogers, Matthew Cobbett, Matthew Barrett, Thomas Burke, Michael Antonello, Kurt Yeager, Kyle Barden, John Savasta, Darren Lavoie, Ellis Weber, Drew Brooks, Andrew Withrow, John Supa, Matthew Hallione, Daniel Cahill, Kenneth Ruggiero, Raul Levy, Ronald Trapasso, David Trapasso.
Stephen Whipple, Aiden Pulaski, Ethan Grant, Maura Cronin, Grace Ramos, Elliot Pulaski, Jonathan Walger, Effie Cobbett, and Adrian Laporte.
Lars Purcell, Ivan Kadervo, Ethan Davis, Liam O'Brien, Dukin Page, Jamie Garber, Ariana Casella. Allison Janarvis, Nora Walker, Hannah Yeager, Michael Norcott, Robert McLaughlin, Luke O'Brien, and Charles Page.
Lawrence Walkley, Colin Ullin, Jonathan Braid, Ross Thibodeau, Adam Kowal, Jason Philbrook, William Stone.
So before you sit down, can you just show us with the raising your hand, how many of you will have your names on this plaque and our next plaque? All right, so Shannon will start getting your names ready, start having your plaques ready, okay? So this will be hanging up at Town Hall, and you can go in, it'll be on the left, and I think this is a really great tribute to your hard work. All right.
Thank you guys very much. If you would just make yourselves sort of like a one, squish your guys together so somebody can take a really nice picture like the newspaper. Yeah.
Come by the plaques.
There you go. Great. Do you want to get in there? Because you're...
They're all aspiring.
That's right. Oh, that's true. All right, squat down there. There you go. Perfect.
Take a knee.
Good job. Excellent. Move your paper from your
Wait,
page.
do you have this cutie
There
on the
you
end?
go. Great.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you for doing the hard work of reading all those names so that we didn't have to. All right. We will now move on. You're more than welcome to stay, but I'm sure you all have homework to do. So to the discussion and possible vote on the middle school MSBA statement of interest. And we have Superintendent Kalishman here and Max Casper, the facilities director, to join us for this part of the conversation. Gentlemen, please.
Hi, everybody. So, as I'm sure it's not lost on anybody, that the physical building of the middle school is a bit of an issue, not any other part of the middle school. It's a pressing issue, and we're here to discuss the statement of interest process and timeline with you. So I'm going to have Max take it away with his thanks, Jim, presentation, and then we'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Kalishman. I just have a brief presentation discussing the what a statement of interest is, some of the conditions at the middle school, and then obviously we'll be happy to have a discussion, take any questions. So what is the statement of interest? The statement of interest is the first step in entering the MSBA's core program, which funds major renovations, additions, and new construction for K through 12 schools in Massachusetts. We're very familiar with MSBA's core program, having just built the Swampscott Elementary School in a partnership with MSBA through the core program. The statement of interest it's really the first step. It allows districts to inform the MSBA of deficiencies that may exist in a local school facility and how those deficiencies inhibit the delivery of the district's educational program. The statement of interest itself is is a relatively straightforward submission. It's not a massive lift for us to put that together. We're obviously putting a decent effort into it and answering all the questions fully. But the idea is, you're not supposed to be hiring professional help or creating some like massive study. It's really just reporting to the state, to the MSBA, the conditions at your building, and for them to review. The submission of a statement of interest to the MSBA must be approved by a vote of the school committee and the select board. That's why we're here tonight. We have already been in front of the school committee. The school committee voted unanimously to authorize the superintendent to submit a statement of interest for the middle school. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep, you can go to the next slide. So here's a timeline on the statement of interest process. The statement of interest period opened in January of this year. The first couple months, February and March, we've been preparing the statement of interest. We're still finalizing it. March into April, local authorization votes, as I just discussed. April 17th, that is next Friday, is the deadline for submitting statement of interests. So there's no wiggle room there. We have to have everything in order, all the signatures, all the votes in by that time if we will be submitting a statement of interest. Following that, there's a due diligence period. This is the MSBA's due diligence period where they are reviewing the statement of interest. Oftentimes, they're visiting the buildings, interviewing stakeholders during that period while they're making their decision, because not every statement of interest is awarded. They only award some of them to the neediest districts. The end of 2026 is when we would be selected if the MSBA does select Swampscott to advance and recommend it for eligibility. And then early 2027 through July 2027 is when this eligibility period would commence. It's important to understand just sort of how long this first step is. We're sitting here in April 2026. We wouldn't even know if we have eligibility, likely eligibility to the end of this year. And then our period of eligibility doesn't start until some point in the first half of 2027. And then there's a 270-day window where you're in what's called Module 1 of the MSBA process, where you are forming the school building committee, completing the educational profile, and ultimately likely authorizing local funding for feasibility and a schematic design. I just wanted to point out how far off from today that really is. That's really 2 years away, roughly, before you're just kind of completing Module 1. And just to drill down a little bit further into the timeline, you can go to the next slide, Nick, please. We thought this was a helpful slide. Having just completed a project and understanding a project timeline, having a real example, and sort of mapping that onto what it could look like for a middle school project. You see tonight, April, we're potentially voting on a statement of interest. That would line up with a May 2027 feasibility coming before town meeting for approval. Again, if it tracks to the SES timeline, roughly fall 2030 is when town meeting could potentially be appropriating funding for a construction project. With a project of this size, you're likely looking at a debt exclusion. There was a debt exclusion for the elementary school. There was a debt exclusion for the high school. Very unlikely there wouldn't be a debt exclusion. That would be roughly fall 2030 on this timeline, with construction potentially beginning fall 2031. And again, if it followed a similar timeline, we're talking about a completed project somewhere along 2033. This is for sort of planning purposes. None of these are hard years, hard dates. It's just to kind of conceptualize as we sit here, April 2026. If we go down this road, when is that completing? And obviously that plays heavily into sort of financial planning as well. Go to the next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about the middle school itself and really like why we are looking at this option and the conditions we have there. A bit of good news. We haven't been ignoring the middle school. We've actually been doing things over the course of the last few years. We've done a brand new roof, multiple millions of dollars. We've installed a new fire alarm system. We've installed a new security vestibule at the building. The town has already appropriated funds for a massive window project that we're currently under design for. So, you know, we saw some things happen with the elementary schools and them maybe not being treated fully correctly for years, and we didn't want to repeat some of those mistakes at the middle school. And it is always hard when you have a building that there's an uncertain future of, but our children are there every single day, and it's important that we treat these buildings correctly, even if there's some unknowns. So I think it really is important to recognize that we have already been investing in this middle school, and it's unknown exactly what kind of project you get when you go into an MSBA process. That's just the nature of that process. But I'm bringing this up because we think that there's good bones in that middle school, and that there's an efficient project to sort of reuse the middle school and not tear it down, put it in a landfill, and build an extraordinarily expensive new building. That's really not our goal as we sit here today. But the challenges at the middle school, we have many systems at the middle school that are in very poor condition, and they need to be on track for replacement. They need to be addressed. The big ones that I talk about a little bit, the mechanical system, the HVAC system. Some of the pictures here on this slide, that's a boiler that was installed in 1977 that we still operate today. That's the generator at the middle school that is the backup generator for the emergency electrical system, for the fire alarm system. Again, installed in the late 70s. It's in a corner inside the building. I would like you to take a look at the generator at the elementary school. It's this massive exterior diesel-fired unit, comparing that to kind of what we have there. And basically that's a car engine from the 1970s that we're relying on. And similarly, the electrical system. The electrical service, most of the electrical distribution, again, dates to the 1970s when there was a large addition at the middle school. Some of the electrical in the building still dates to the 1950s when the original Shaw Junior High School was built. The middle school there's something very important to understand with the middle school. It was built in 1958, roughly, but there was a massive addition in 1977 that converted the original junior high school into a high school. And it was used as a high school for many, many years until the new high school was built and it was converted back to a middle school. So we have two distinct sections of the building, one from the 1950s, one from the 1970s. In addition to HVAC and electrical, security, fire protection, there's no sprinkler system at this building. The only large school in the town that does not have a sprinkler system. We have accessibility concerns. We do have an elevator, but it's from, again, the late 70s, and it's not a fully accessible building. There's multiple issues with doorways, with paths. I think if you think of how you have to get to the gymnasium as a person needing accessibility, I think that really points out some of the struggles there. You have to go all the way around the building, down a ramp. It's definitely not a sort of equitable situation. And then building envelope issues. Again, we're on a path to addressing many of those with the new roof and the window projects advancing, but still concerns there. And not on this list, but important to recognize that sort of dovetails with many of these other systems is hazmat. We have asbestos flooring, asbestos pipe wrap in many areas of the building that we're very much on top of. We've abated some areas over the course of the years. We continue to abate areas that are problematic, but it's important to recognize that's a real issue at the building. And that is my final slide. again, happy to discuss, answer any questions on the process. The document, we have shared the statement of interest with you, a draft version that's, fairly close to being completed that we do hope to submit.
So just a few questions. So typically how many statements of interest, would be submitted annually, on average the last 5 or 10 years? Any data there? How many are selected, and then what are the pool of funds that are available at the state level that we're competing with others to get?
Yeah, I don't have the specific numbers, but all of that information is available on the MSBA's website. I've looked at that exact question with like how many are submitted. It varies pretty interestingly wildly year to year. You'll see, one year maybe 50 core programs, and then another year 20. It's not about really the number that they approve. It's really the dollar value. Like there'll be a high school that could be potentially a $600 million high school in whatever town it is, and that is going to impact the MSBA's ability to how many projects they can do that year. So I would definitely point you to the MSBA's website for like specific data and information. There's a ton of information on that website that speak to that, but their sort of parameters, as I understand it, are really, they have a certain amount of money each year that they distribute.
And is that website, Max, msba.org, msba.gov?
I can tell you.
Massschoolbuildings.org.
Thank you, Jason.
You got it.
And it's between 100 and 150 annually that they receive. I looked it up while Max was talking.
150 projects or dollars?
Correct.
Dollars?
Statements of interest, 100 to 150 statements of interest, it says. It can vary year to year.
Thank you, Nick.
Can you just, on the statement of interest, so when you send in a statement of interest, it's just like, we're interested in getting the school repaired, up to snuff, or a new school. Do they come in and evaluate it? And what happens, like, we don't have a financial plan on how to address this. So how does it, I know your feelings are that this takes a while, but I'm looking at this as if this happens fairly quickly, because it looks like if we were to be accepted, we would have to do a feasibility, we'd have to go for funding next year, right? We'd have to ask for funding, and how much would that funding be for a feasibility? Is that a feasibility study? Is that what it means?
Yes, that is like the first sort of time that it comes before town meeting and funds are appropriated. For perspective on it, looking to the elementary school, I think the feasibility study was initially funded at $750,000 for the elementary school. Ultimately, around $900,000 was what it was, just to put it in order of magnitude.
So we would be looking for about $1 million next year, or just short of. Do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to try to like pin down exactly what that number is today. It's a very different circumstance. We have to remember with the elementary school, we were looking like town-wide for a site, and
right.
But it's also 10 years later-ish, and things are way more expensive. So yeah, I mean, that's probably a good order of magnitude thing, but I don't want to sit here and say we're asking for $1 million next year.
And is this the same as, was there another avenue as far as repair, or?
Yes.
There was another, I don't really,
Sure, no, I can talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
MSBA has another program called an accelerated repair program.
Okay.
Right now, they've started to do it every other year. Next year is going to be an accelerated repair year. They just started doing it every other year. So that funds smaller targeted projects for roofs, windows, HVAC projects. It used to be boilers. Now they're exclusively funding heat pump projects with sort of the move towards electrification. Smaller projects, still a big deal, and significant funding, but that's the difference.
And following on that, we're not using that for the windows on?
Nope, the windows are entirely funded by the town of Swampscott. We've discussed this in the past. The reason that the roof or the windows were not submitted as an accelerated repair project is because we knew that there was going to be a consideration for a core program, and MSBA tells you to not submit an accelerated repair project if there is a potential core program looming.
Within a certain amount of time or something?
Yeah, it's not like a hard line or anything, but
So going back to the larger point that I think Mary Ellen was getting at a little bit, I think, and you mentioned it very briefly, but you seem to be somewhat definitive that we weren't going to be pursuing a tear-down, brand-new school approach. Is that really that clear? Did I understand you correctly? Or is that still very much a lot of feasibility has to be done to figure out whether or not it's going to be a brand-new school or a major repair?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think what I was trying to convey is that we've looked at it, we've invested in the school, we understand the building, and we believe that that building has life left in it and can be a good option for us moving forward as a town. But it's a feasibility study, and it's not reasonable to sort of decide what is feasible before you have even done a feasibility study. And as we experienced with the elementary school project, you know, we're likely going to look at everything. I mean, we looked at renovations of Hadley when we did the elementary school project. We looked at small buildings. We looked at additions. You know, we, as a town, ultimately as a school building committee, like we guide this process. It's not like we hand over the keys to the MSBA and they tell you everything that you're going to do. Having experienced it, having been on an SBC, you know, we're partners with the MSBA, but we drive the bus. They have significant influence in some very specific areas. For example, they hire the designer. You have influence, but they pick the architect. But we have tremendous ability to shape our project, to shape the feasibility study. So I think we need to keep an open mind and let the process play out and make wise decisions. But I'm certainly going into it with the expectation that we want to renovate the middle school.
I think the superintendent.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I know this isn't exactly what you're looking for, but they, from what we understand, they prefer a renovation, which I think I've talked about here before, that because they're running out, the buildings they're tearing down, they're just going in landfills and they're running out of space. So correct me if I'm wrong, Max, but they actually give more reimbursement for a reno than a new build. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a multifaceted thing. We've got feedback from the MSBA that they like to see people retaining buildings instead of just tearing everything down. And then also, I think what the superintendent is referencing is you end up likely getting more reimbursement when you do a renovation. It's not that your rate is different. The formula is similar, but when you do a new construction, you hit these caps. For example, a big one is site work. And you hit a maximum cap on site work, and then over that cap, you're not getting reimbursed on over that anymore. When you do a renovation, you're not hitting those caps on certain things. You know, there still are areas you're going to likely hit caps on, like technology and FF&E. But at the end of the day, your total reimbursement amount and rate of the project is going to be higher, likely. Your reimbursement rate of eligible costs is actually the same, but you're likely to have more eligible costs with the renovation. And we feel we would have more ability to control the scope and cost of the project if it is a renovation, because we've invested in the building, we know what is good about the building, whereas if you're building new construction, everything's brand new from the ground up. You're paying for a new building, where we think that there's likely an opportunity to control costs by doing a renovation.
So then, in what we have in our packet here, this whole statement of interest has things filled out, if I'm reading this correctly, and I don't understand the answers to some of them. Like, it says, is this part of a larger master facilities plan, educational plan? It says no. Is an energy or decarbonization study been completed within the last 5 years? It says no. Does the district have a dedicated sustainability officer or energy manager? It says no. Are all those answers?
I think those are all the correct answers, yes.
We have done a decarbonization study, have we not?
We haven't done a dedicated decarbonization study of the middle school. That's what we understand that question to be asking. I mean, we could maybe answer yes and say that we've done things, but I don't think that would be the correct answer.
Okay, as part of climate leaders, that doesn't check that box.
In my opinion, it doesn't, no.
Did the study we did include this building?
Yes, but it wasn't, I guess, as deep as Max feels it needs to be.
Or all buildings in the district, too.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Which we did do all districts, but all buildings, but anyway, okay.
Max, I have a question. With the study that we did a study when we were when we were battling out, we wanted a new roof. Instead of getting a new roof, we got a study first. We got that study, and in that study, it pretty much gave us an evaluation of the systems.
Yep.
Is that called the Caleb study? What was
the Habib report?
Habib
is what it was
study,
called.
right? And so on the Habib study, it gave us also an estimate at that time of what it was going to run us. But does that study help in any way? I mean, have we really looked and said, well, what is the real breakdown on what our needs are, and how's this going to affect us?
Yeah, that study has actually proven very, very helpful. It's interesting because I definitely shared your sentiment. Like, I felt like we needed a roof when we got a study 7 years ago.
Right.
Ultimately, we got a roof, but there's some really good information in that study. It's informed our roof project. It helped us advance the fire alarm project. It's been helpful with the window project. It helps sort of frame the needs of the building. All of the needs that I talked about today with the HVAC, with the electrical, there's really good information in that report about all those systems. So, I mean, I think it's been a really valuable tool. I think that the sort of cost estimates in there have been valuable. They've helped us sort of put preliminary numbers on some of the projects as we've gone along. Yeah, I think it's been quite useful.
But so on that study, does that study still give us any type of an idea of what, I'm just trying to find out, what type of costs are we looking at, and how do we fit it in, and how do we fit it into our schedule? And when are things rolling off? Because I think without having that structure in front of us, how do we know how to implement this and how to fit it in? Because I would think that if we go to the MSBA and say, we want to do this study, and then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, we're not going to be able to fund this at this time. Is that going to hurt? I'm going to guess that's going to hurt us with the MSBA. But I think, because I just don't see the real plan on how we're going to fit this. How do we fit this in?
Sure. I mean, we've one of the questions on the SOI is not how much is your ultimate project going to cost, right? We don't know, but it's a very fair question. I think we all would like to know the answer to it. The new elementary school, brand new, 160,000 square feet in elementary school, cost us $100 million. Bid 5-6 years ago. That's really good information. A brand new middle school would certainly cost well more than that. Again, just trying to create some sort of upper bounds, lower bounds. The roof costs about $3 million all in. Fire alarm systems, $1.5 million project. We're anticipating the windows to be like a $1.8 million project. It's a question that I can't answer. I can't tell you exactly what the project scope is, and we don't have a cost estimate because of that, and it's tricky. We've had preliminary conversations with Town Hall about trying to understand the debt service and when things are coming off, and trying to do, some preliminary planning and thoughts. But, yeah, I mean, it's sort of a catch-22. It's like, we would like to have all the information. You can't have all the information until you start down the path, right?
I don't know, I think there is, when is the high school coming off, in 7 years?
32.
And what, do you know what what's our final debt? Because you said 2032?
2035.
2035?
Thank you, Joe.
And how much do we have left on that?
That's about $760,000 roughly. So in 2036, that will be gone.
So, and it's less than $1 million that's left?
Not total, but I'm just saying budget.
What's the total?
There's still over $7 million outstanding on the high school.
So you have $7 million on that, and then our debt service on fully funding our unfunded liability will be 2032. So there will be room in debt service.
The unfunded liability is part of operating.
Operating.
That's not.
Yeah, but if it's in operating, that means we'll have more money in operating to put towards debt.
If we'd like to, yeah. I just
Yes,
want to make
if
sure
we'd like,
didn't think
if
that
we'd like
was-
to, if we'd like to.
I want to make sure it wasn't that debt was
Right.
rolling off.
No. Debt, we have debt rolling off, and then in 2035, and then we have this other, so we get to 6 years. Okay.
It lines up perfectly.
Looks a little bit better.
Yeah, when we first sort of was talking about it,
Just the way
I
we
don't think it
think it.
lines up perfectly, but, you start to see maybe a path,
Right.
with how the debt service rolls off.
Yeah, I think the rhetoric will, I mean, obviously we've already started this conversation publicly. We had this conversation when all 3 committees met, back in the fall at this point. And it was pretty clear that the committees supported going forward, at least on the statement of interest, in working towards better understanding how this falls into a timeline so that we could better understand how to prepare ourselves financially. I think the worst part of the timeline is feasibility study, to be honest, just because of where it falls in line with some of the financial expectations we're going to have for the next 18 months, which, while that's not ideal, it's also not a reason not to go forward to do it. I think we just have to understand that, yeah, the landscape's going to get worse before it gets better. But I don't, in my opinion, I don't think it's a reason to delay.
No, when you said that a lot of people apply, but is it likely that
Right.
everybody
Get
everybody gets into the chute, or it's more likely actually that your first try you don't even get into the chute, and this whole thing moves back by at least a year?
It's not, it's a competitive process. Everyone does not get into the chute.
Yeah.
It's about the quality of the project, quality of the application, and they take a look at, where they're spending money statewide, and there's a number of factors. It's a board that's appointed that works with the treasurer's office.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and the one thing that we had talked about a little bit is whether it's funding for feasibility or deciding on a future debt exclusion, those are really opportunities for the community to reaffirm their support. So it's, you all have had discussions about the idea that this is a priority on some level, and trying to make it work financially is what's important. But whether it's funding for feasibility or a decision around a debt exclusion in the future, those are opportunities for the community to say, yes, this still makes sense even with our competing priorities, or unfortunately, it doesn't. And, they're sort of built into the process that they accept some communities will not fund a feasibility even though they get in, and some communities will get off at the debt exclusion and be back in a few years. These are opportunities for the community to say, yes, this is a priority for us, we want to do it, we want to move forward throughout the next 7 years as you get to the point that there's an open building. So it's not an end-all tonight is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the time I think the time for us to act is now. I mean, the timeline is so far, it's so far out into the future. You know, we have to start now. There's no guarantee that this happens, but let's start the process so that way we can start preparing ourselves. Just looking at, just doing the high level, the high level of, of debt that's rolling, that's on and that's gonna roll off. This has to be a priority. This has to be a priority for our, for the future of Swampscott. I mean, this has been the problem historically, is we haven't made these types of investments. Probably since from the 70s until we built this high school, there's an enormous gap in time where these investments weren't made. And now we're on a little bit of an accelerated timeline to catch up. But hopefully we can do this. We can start this, and then we can get on a more regular cadence moving forward. So I'm fully in support of signing off tonight.
Yeah, likewise, and I appreciate, the timeframe clarity. So I think we've had a lot of these conversations that it hasn't necessarily felt very clear or exactly how long we're talking, not necessarily from you guys, but just in general. And whether or not we should do the windows, and we're gonna build, why do the windows when we're gonna do the school very soon? And, it just gets confused. But when you lay this out like this, it makes it very, very clear. Is there anything else a little bit to Nick's point, anything else we could be doing to make our application stronger? I don't even know, we're gonna open the town warrant tonight. I mean, is there anything that one would do to make your application even stronger? Would you have anything from town meeting? Would you do anything in that regard to show that the community is highly motivated?
A unanimous vote of the select board?
That certainly helps. Any letters of support are helpful. Maybe letters of support from our representatives at the state might be helpful. I think it's the content of the application is the key. We've been working as a team in the school department, kind of putting it together, the principal of the middle school, IT, finance, special education, sort of like identifying which questions are best to be answered by which specialties. I think that's the most important thing is the content and just the real, true state of the middle school. I think their ultimate visit to the school is probably more important than anything, even what we put in the application. But no, I mean, there's nothing else that comes to mind for me, sort of that we need. I think the votes are imperative. Like we don't submit without a vote. It's that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Where does the funding come from with the state? What mechanism does the state use for this section of funding? Do you know?
I believe it's a bond that is renewed every 5 years or something by the legislature. We can look into that and get it back to you, though.
It's not, it has no relation to the federal government?
I don't believe so, no.
I don't know. I know like states like New Hampshire don't have a similar program at all. The communities build their schools entirely locally funded, which would indicate there's probably not a federal program, but I don't really know either.
I just have to ask, because it's like the first thing on this. Why do they ask about the energy stuff, like first and foremost? Is there any meaning behind that? Is that like a very important thing to them, or?
I don't know.
Because I just feel like our answers are kind of, they're not, maybe they're honest, maybe they're accurate, but they're not strong.
I think the goal is that the design and future work is prioritizing sustainability and green infrastructure. So an openness and a willingness and a desire to move forward in that way is, I think, what's most important to them. I'm happy to sit down with Max and see if there's any opportunities for us to reconsider a particular answer, or to talk to you specifically, Doug, about any that you may have in mind. But, I think their goal, as with many of the state programs, is to drive communities towards adoption, similar to how Green Communities started. And so a community that's willing to sort of focus on that as part of their prioritization of the project is what they're hoping to find.
Yeah, I would suggest that you rethink some of these a little bit, or beef them up a little bit. We don't say anything about climate leader. I mean, that's something. I mean, we have done an analysis. I would argue that this one in the middle could be a yes. But I just, if it's irrelevant, it's not really that important, and that's fine. But, if we've got an opportunity, it's gonna be competitive, then it's a little bit like a marketing thing.
We say
And I
please
think we can also-
reference our, what we did at the elementary school, because you know that we're
Right.
here
Everything
for
we've
it.
done at the elementary school,
Right?
exactly.
Like, there should
Yeah.
be an appendix of just, this is what we did there, and we are willing to do it here in some regard.
Or you could say, please call Doug Thompson.
No, please call Martha, actually.
Or Martha Schmidt, yes.
No, I think having just completed, a highly successful project
Yeah.
with the MSBA, with, an EUI under 26, geothermal, fully electric
Right.
building that they know about, that's a check mark in our
Yeah.
box, in our
But we
box.
should lead with that.
Well, then put it in there
let's keep it
somewhere.
there.
Yeah,
Agree. I
don't
agree.
let them
Yeah.
forget, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, even if it has to be an asterisk, like, this doesn't really answer your question, but we want to remind you.
Right.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, like, that is a document that we
It's a form.
created.
Oh.
We're actually submitting this, like, in a form, and some of them are just like yes or no
Yes or no,
questions.
drop
down. Right.
Many of them we do have an opportunity to expound on, but sometimes we're just checking a box, and that doesn't really come through in the draft document you have.
Fair.
All right.
So we need a vote.
Yep, we do need a vote. Does that mean you're ready for a motion, Doug?
I am, but David seemed most eager.
All right, let's hear it.
No, I'm just, I'm ready for the select board to support the statement of interest in entering the MSBA's core program for the Swampscott Middle School.
Second.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There's very specific vote language required by the MSBA that we would recommend that you read.
Okay.
End here? Is it at the end of our packet, this
Yes.
resolved
Hold on.
form of vote?
Yes.
Sorry.
Required form of vote.
It's all the way at the end.
All the way at the end. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Please use the text below to prepare the required votes.
Yep, okay. Having convened an open meeting on April 8th, 2026, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the Swampscott Select Board, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit the MSBA, the Statement of Interest form dated April 2026 for the Swampscott Middle School located at 207 Forest Avenue, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. Priority 7, replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide a full range of programs consistent with the state and approved local requirements. Building deficiencies include aging, failing, or non-existent building systems such as HVAC, electrical, plumbing, accessibility, fire suppression, building envelope, security, and interior finishes. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the town of Swampscott to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Danielle, can I take you as a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of David's long but proper vote?
Aye.
Aye. And that's unanimous. We are very glad to support this statement of interest, and thank you, Max,
Thank you.
for signing up to do this again.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to discussion and possible vote on the town's action related to ICE and the federal immigration enforcement.
So we circulated a draft that I got some feedback. I got a draft back from council today, or last night rather, that I shared with Doug specifically. My question is if we would.
Yes.
We are.
Discussed.
Yes, let's
Yes,
go.
we are going to proceed with the redrafted version.
Doug's going to tell us how it's redrafted.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect. Yeah, no, I wanted to put it out for.
Yep. All right, so the revised resolution for everyone's benefit is as follows, much of which is what people have seen before, but Select Board resolution, whereas the current federal administration's policies, procedures, and methods used to enforce civil immigration have led to fear and concern in Swampscott, and whereas the enforcement of the nation's federal civil immigration laws is solely the responsibility of the federal government, not the Swampscott Police Department or any other town departments. No Swampscott police officer performs the functions of a federal immigration officer. Whereas the Governor of Massachusetts issued Executive Order Number 650, EO 650, on January 29, 2026, which, among other things, bars federal immigration officers from using state facilities to, quote, facilitate civil immigration enforcement efforts, unquote, and conducting enforcement activity in non-public spaces of public buildings. And whereas, there's a typo there, the town of Swampscott, through its select board, is governed by the constitutions of the United States and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The select board, consistent with the oaths taken by its members, follows that law. And whereas the select board strives to ensure that all persons living in, working in, or visiting Swampscott be treated fairly and equally, regardless of their national origin, race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability, immigration status, ethnicity, or political viewpoint. And whereas the select board further states that the officers and other employees of the police department affirm its current policy and practices regarding immigration enforcement. Whereas this select board resolution does not prevent town police officers, employees, or officials from lawfully discharging their duties in compliance with any applicable state or federal legal requirements, including but not limited to 8 U.S.C. Section 1373, in keeping with current practices, including if presented with a criminal warrant, court order from a court of competent jurisdiction, or other evidence of probable cause, as required by the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Now therefore, the Swampscott Select Board affirms the above commitments to members of the community and hereby proclaims as follows. The town shall not use the property within its custody and control, including parking lots, garages, parks, or buildings, including the interior or exterior areas of any parcel upon which a building is located, for staging areas, processing locations, or operations bases for federal immigration enforcement actions. Town officials and employees shall not provide access to non-public areas of town buildings unless required by a valid judicial warrant or court order issued by a judge or magistrate sitting in the judicial branch of state government or of the federal government, or other applicable law or valid legal justification. Nothing in this proclamation shall be construed to require action inconsistent with any applicable state or federal law, regulation, or policy to diminish the statutory authority of any executive branch entity, or to require action that would be inconsistent with other legal requirements for a state or federally supported, how do lawyers live? Anyway, okay. Legal requirements for a state or federally supported or funded program. Nothing in this proclamation shall be construed to restrict or interfere with the execution of lawful judicial warrants or judicial orders or the enforcement of criminal law. This proclamation reinforces and affirms the town's emphasis on providing for the public safety of community members and does not restrict or interfere with the lawful conduct of civil immigration enforcement. In addition to the town's responsibility to protect its citizens and visitors, the Select Board urges all residents and visitors to express their views in peaceful and nonviolent ways, which have been shown to be the most effective way to counter and roll back the actions of federal immigration enforcement agents. Hopefully passed by a vote of the Swampscott Select Board on this day.
Okay, so to Doug's point, this proclamation has been heavily vetted through council to ensure that we are not jeopardizing Swampscott in any way for maintaining this viewpoint from a federal or state perspective. Obviously, there are no guarantees, but we have all the right language that we're meant to have so that we're not putting ourselves in harm's way from, budgetary issues or anything like that, to the best of our abilities.
Right, and it's highly consistent with many other jurisdictions that, of similar competence and orientation.
Correct.
So I'd make a motion to approve this resolution.
I will second.
Additional discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so. Doug, you can
Done.
cross it off the list.
Yay.
Something we've accomplished. Appreciate your work and appreciate the town administrators.
Yes, diligence in
trying to get us
pursuing an
exactly
answer.
what we
Sorry
were
for the
looking
delay.
for. No, not at all.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick, very much.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to item 5, discussion and possible vote on fiscal year 2027's preliminary budget as updated. This is very satisfying. Shannon, thank you for this.
Wow.
You made a lovely,
It's big.
It's a long piece of paper for our long-range financial plan.
So the goal tonight is to be responsive to the request for a longer-range financial plan. The document that I had shared in the electronic draft of the packet, I have tweaked a little bit. The one change that was made after feedback from a few different folks was to make sure that on the town side, we're at, I think on the salary, consistent with our current planning for, both salary and expenses and reflective of what we did this year. And in the same way to match the schools' work this year to get to 3.25 as a number that we're carrying going forward. So I just wanted to give a couple of slides here with a few points, and then I'm going to open that up as a PDF to view it as best we can online. I don't know how good that's going to go for us, but we'll see what happens. So this is a 5-year projection to give the context that folks have been looking for in terms of this year's decisions, and with the idea that, having a good sense of what's ahead, or as good a sense as we can have of what's ahead. This is something that I plan, along with Patrick, to regularly update. At the least, it would be quarterly. You'll hear about this in the summer, you'll hear about it again in the fall. This will be probably the form that we'll take for future projections of both revenue and expense as well, which is, we did it a little different this year, being that I was about 4 weeks in. And just, again, on the assumption side, this is based on a mix of the things that we do know, the financial policies, and then the best informed projections that we can have, but sort of the further out we get, the less realistic or specific it is, because we're going beyond our collective bargaining that we currently have and that type of thing. To just highlight a few assumptions here, it's 2% levy plus 425 in new growth. We carry state aid flat because it has not consistently been growing. It's something that each year we'll be able to sort of move based on governor's budget, which is, first few weeks of the calendar year each year. And then that also changes as we go through the legislative process, where April vacation is the House, and then the Senate comes sometime between then and whenever they decide to move the budget forward. On health insurance, we're holding it at 10% growth. We had the 14 last year. This year was 10. Without plan redesign, I don't know what GIC can really do to get it lower than that. That was something that was on the table this year. The governor eventually pulled it from the proposals with her appointees, and they focused on removing GLP-1s, which did make a significant impact. So it was just one of those things where I guess they were choosing which one this year they would focus on. And I think going forward, this will be a question if we can do plan redesign at the state level in GIC to sort of bend the growth. And then obviously part of future discussions as we do look at potential deficits would be having ongoing conversations with the PEC here in town as well. On local receipts, I just wanted to highlight that we're following the policy as best we can, but where we have actual information or projections that we think we can rely on, we're trying to thread them in. And so the idea with Hadley is occupancy tax and local receipts and the food and beverage. And so those are things that, working with Marzi and the team, we're able to look back at what was proposed, what we all anticipate, and those numbers are threaded in. And sort of the different side of that would be looking at when a particular piece of new growth would come on. So a large residential development, as we get more information on when we anticipate it opening, that's when we will update this to make sure that it reflects the year in which we anticipate getting that new growth. But it's a little difficult to be picking year to year when we start to look at deficits, because we don't want to be doing it sort of from this super optimistic view to say, oh, there's not a deficit because that new growth will hit the right year. We want to make sure that we're basing it on information that we have instead.
I have a couple little questions, comments on that. Was that the last slide?
I'm going to go to, can I set up the PDF while you start to ask questions?
Sure. Is the flat state aid actually what the last 3-year average is, or is, just so I know, contextually, is that a conservative estimate, or is that really what the average is? Flat?
It is a conservative estimate, and it's what we did this year. I think in the end, for the projections, and when we got the governor's numbers, we changed it to reflect her proposal.
But in general, state aid does go up. It's just a matter of, is it 2%, 3%, for whatever?
The question is the assessments. And so the net increase can be different. If we have more charter students going out, then it can significantly impact what our number can be. Currently, I think we benefit from the fact that the school system is very attractive to folks. So where the number that in that charter out dollar is going down year over year, that may not always be the case. Other assessments, MBTA and others, they kind of use to be able to say state aid is increasing when you look at UGA and unrestricted government aid and Chapter 70, but they don't the press release doesn't talk about what they take, it's only what they give.
Okay, so putting that all together, our net increase over the last 3 years or so, do you,
I think it's something we could push a little bit higher, but my goal is to be more conservative, to be quite honest, at this point, because as we get that information, it would make next year sort of
Right.
easier to make right.
you know, we've had these kind of discussions before about this, right? Because, you know, you look down at the bottom line here and you see the increasing negative number. But if you even just add 1% on state aid each year, and that starts to ripple through all these years,
Right.
then it can add up to real money.
Right.
So I don't want to be like sitting here for an hour, you know, pulling our hair out, whatever we have. And, you know, but it's actually a relatively simple math. It's really an assumption issue, a very small but significant one.
But to that same effect, if you know, we're assuming right now health insurance is going to be one number, so if we're off by 1%, that's also a large number in the opposite direction. So
It might be that those aren't the same magnitude. I don't know if those are the same magnitude number. So that's, you know, just I think to be, and even on the 10%, I was going to ask, is that really ultimately, you know, what the last 3 years have been? Yeah, I'm just picking 3 years. Just
I actually think the last 3 years, just doing the simple math that I'm capable of, not Patrick's math, it has been over 10%.
Okay.
It's been higher.
Okay.
But this is no assumption of ever coming out of the GIC or incentivizing people to not take our insurance, correct?
Correct. This is current setup, current world, just
But that is something we're exploring.
Correct.
Right.
It is. And the consultant on that, on the GIC side, will look to, the sort of threshold is get all of our information that we can request once every 3 years as part of the contract.
Mhm.
And if we're net subsidizer, they will go out and see in the market what we may be able to do. If we are not leaving GIC. So, you know.
Just to answer your question, actually, just you were spot on, actually, maybe you knew that. State aid and health insurance are about the same amount. So, okay.
And Nick, just one other question is, how does this feather in with what our available excess levy capacity is?
So let me zoom in because I'm having a hard time even seeing this. So excess levy capacity, if you just look at the screen, David, like is right, it's like the fourth down there. So in 2027, excess levy capacity is 2.5.
Yep.
The change, that's the number that we're using this year, right, Patrick? I just want to make sure I'm saying this correctly because I had the same question, David. When we look at next year after using 961, is that right?
Yep.
This is where we stand, and then when we get to 29, we're using all of that to try to close it.
Look at that, it's perfect. We landed right at 0.
Well, no, it's just zeroing out that number, but don't give Patrick that much credit for this, you know?
What a soft landing.
But as we, you know, look down here, the surplus or deficit, the bottom line is really, I think, what you may ultimately be getting at, which is as we start to go into, we're already in deficit spending, this is year 2.
Yep.
So we get to the point that there's now a delta to make up,
Right.
as opposed to excess levy that's available when you get to 29, and it's just under 500 in current projections.
So very technically, if everything was right in 2029, we'd actually need an override.
Yes. And to be clear, this is a snapshot.
Right.
Everything is not going to go exactly as we expect. This is based on assumptions. And I'm saying this more for
Really?
my own benefit than you all.
Public to understand.
So that
We don't live by this chart.
when we look at it, it will change probably every 3 months when we're looking at it, up or down, as we get more information and have a better understanding, certainly on the revenue side, where we think things will land. But also as we're able to either identify ways to control costs or we see things that are going beyond our control. But this is, I just want to underline for everyone, it is a snapshot, a moment in time that we will come back to repeatedly so that we're having informed discussions about 27 right now, but also 28, 29, and whatever going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's important that this document is dynamic and that we're constantly evaluating it, we're constantly updating it, so that there was a lot of legwork to get to here for you guys to put this together now, because we didn't really have, I mean, we had bits of starting points, but nothing like sort of this concrete. And as this evolves and has more information, some of these will become more solid, but then we're always going to have that squishiness in the out years, because there is no crystal ball in town hall and we have no certainty. So we can make the best of it that we can, but should be informing, you know, some of our choices, like whether or not where we can fit the middle school and what this looks like. And if we were in 2029 to have to go before and say, okay, well, we're looking at a deficit of $500,000 and potentially $1 million in spend for a feasibility study, like it gives it context rather than, you know, as we were discussing earlier, Mary Ellen.
So let me, on your first slide, you had 2% on the tax levy. Did you have 2%? And then here I'm reading 2.5%.
Let me zoom out.
So
The second line down.
Oh, yeah.
In your original slide here, in your narrative slides.
Yes, you're right. I apologize. The narrative was incorrect. It's 2.5.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So we are at 2.5. Okay.
Yep, it's growing,
Um,
up 2.5.
Thank you.
at 2.5.
And for something like the new growth, we would have a better idea of where we see beyond the 425 as we have a better understanding of some of the larger residential going forward, as we discussed a couple meetings ago, that we can highlight as we move.
Okay, well, this is the first time we're seeing this, but this will not be the last time. And we will continue to have conversations as people get a more intimately aware of what's happening on the spreadsheet. We can certainly give feedback to Nick
Yeah.
upon our each individual review, or obviously we can have it on another agenda to discuss, but I think.
And we'll be talking about it tomorrow night with FinCom as well. I wanted to make sure that we talked to you all at first for at least this first blush, but they, as with you, wanted to make sure that's something that they had at their disposal to make decisions in the current fiscal year. And we're happy to sit down with folks individually if, you know, you would like deeper discussion, or there's a number of other workbooks that are behind all of this, obviously, but we wanted to roll this up to something that's at least in part digestible in a meeting like this.
I just want to touch back on what Doug is saying as far as the state revenues.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'm just wondering, based on historical data, on our assessments and our revenues, and what the state is forecasting, because what I'm hearing is the state is forecasting a little bit of doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we have to be conservative.
Yep. And to further shoot holes in my theory, even if you gave it a couple % increase, which I grant in this environment would be aggressive, that's not really going to make a material difference really in the bottom line. I mean, even if you got a $70, $100, $200,000 out of it, that you're not materially affecting the trajectory.
And my hope would be that as we do get more information on any of these that we're holding as conservative, it makes the year we're in next year more realistic, better, and then has the knock-on effect out. That's part of why, you know, and I think maybe even Patrick would want to be a little bit more optimistic than I am, but from where I sit, I want to make sure that we are being realistic so that we are prepared if, you know, state tax revenue crashes, then local aid is one of the things that they normally will just keep basically at zero. It won't roll back, but it's not going to grow. And that's when you get into the give and take part of it, where they might say it's increased by $300 million, but assessments have increased by a significant number as well. So we're happy to think about adjustments, and certainly with the schools, the 3.25 was one that, looking at what we did this year and how hard they worked to get where they were, it was reasonable to make sure that, you know, we're reflecting both of those efforts in the years going out as well, because we think it's, again, sort of conservative with a small c, and something that we can be focused on trying to do everything we can to fund other priorities if and when funds become available.
Yeah, and I mean, there are ballot initiatives that are upcoming, you know, one around the repeal of recreational cannabis and the other around rent control. Both of those could have material impacts to our budget as well as the state budget.
And one to decrease the state income tax.
Yep. So,
Another one that has been in the legislature for multiple sessions is the idea of allowing local option on meals tax to be doubled. And so especially as we have, new places to eat and go in Vinton, it's an opportunity that there might be more significant increase in local receipts at that level. And that is one of the few ways that we're not just reaching into the taxpayer's pocket. It's folks from other communities that also are coming, that are pitching in and helping us to pay for some of the services that we all would like to be able to fund.
I think the little bit of a worry with that is you have to remember on $1 million, on $1 million alone for the food and beverage, we're only making $7,000. So it's really in the hotel area and in the cannabis area where we get a little bit more bang for our buck. So,
yeah, you get.
I mean, I hope they do change it, but I don't start getting all excited that it's a whole lot of money, because it's really not.
No, I mean, the hotel's
Hotel is where it's
driving
at.
force, yeah, that's the 6% versus the 75 basis points for F&B.
So I just have a question. So on the town budget, because I can't see it that far from here, on the town budget, you're only putting in a 2% increase for 27 and 28? And is that what it's really coming out to, especially with the way our contract?
So what we had looked at was a percentage for salary and a percentage for expenses.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what the final breakdown in that, if it got rounded up or down. If you want to jump in.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. So for town operations, going out into the future, we assumed 3% overall assumption on salaries. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. And 2% on operating expenses. And I just want to call out, this town budget number does not include fixed costs. Those are up above under obligations.
But the 2027, this is the budget.
This reflects what's in our budget proposal at this current time, as you all approve.
And to Mary Ellen's point, so 2% is actually, for that town budget line, is the year-over-year increase at this point for the town budget.
Minus fixed costs.
No, because then we go to 3% in, what year is this? 29.
29.
And what do we have the schools at?
3.25.
Okay, mine says 4.
Yeah, it says 4.
That was what I said, the update between when these were all printed and
Okay.
the final changes that were made.
So it'll be consistent 3.25 across?
Right now, yeah.
Thank you both very much.
I do have, I have to bring it up for this year's budget. I mean, at what point are we going to be discussing the schools sitting on the Nahant revolving account cash?
Have we not discussed it?
Well, the schools have, in September, $574,000 in a revolving fund, and I would like to see that money applied to this budget. And I don't know how the select board is, what the select board's opinion is on that, or I think it's really important if.
Can I just ask Mary Ellen a question first? I assume we saw an email or like a breakdown of the drawdown, how much is anticipated to be used by certain, did you see that?
Here's what we have, is we have a budget, so the school committee has a budget, they're working off of their budget, and they've reported so far this year that they're doing a great job and they're coming in under budget. So, coming in under budget, there's cash sitting in this account. I think there has to be a clear conversation. I mean, so if the school is saying, hey, we're working off of this account and we're going to take a little bit more out of this account, there's no financial policy of having just this lump sum of money sitting there when the schools just go in and take it in and out. I mean, we do have a mechanism in the event that we have an unforeseen expense in any department. We go to the Finance Committee Reserve, which is specifically set up to take care of unforeseen issues. But to have this amount of cash just sitting in an account while we're reaching into our unused levy is insane to me.
So I think it's important, Doug, to just vocalize the data points from that email, because, I mean, when you say 400, what did you say, 540,000?
On September 11th, I'm saying what the schools reported was 574.
So at the end of this year, based on the current rate of spending from that account, what will be left?
I just
Based
want to be,
on the email.
are you asking us the question or the superintendent, just to be fair to you? I'm happy to try to answer it, but I don't know if you're actually asking us or asking.
Well, I think it's the select board that has to weigh in. I think if the members of the select board say, hey, I'm okay with the schools sitting on a large fund of money and going in and using the excess levy, I think that's what people have to say.
Well, I wouldn't say it that way.
Whichever way you want to say it, I mean.
Here's what I
You're saying it
understand.
very
And I don't have the memo in front of me or the email, but here's roughly what I understand. If I'm way off, please correct me. But basically what I understood from that memo was that there's the 540 at that point in time. They expect it to be something like half of that or something by the end of this fiscal year, 200, 300.
I think it's going to be higher at the end of this fiscal year. It's going to be
400 by the end of this fiscal
Yep.
year. And then your budget next year is an assumption that you use another 200 or so, but
Yes.
so by the end of that following year, it would be down to 200.
Yes.
Okay, I still don't have 100% clarity in my mind whether or not I wish or I should have, or they or someone else should have said something at some point earlier about whether or not this existed and what would be left and when and all that. I'm going to put that aside for now. I feel like now through all these conversations, many of which you've helped to spur, we've all have, I think, total clarity on what's in that account, what it can be spent for, what the projection is. And I think the schools have heard loud and clear, I hope, I would think, that a dialogue about if that balloons next year, I would expect, not that I'll be here, but the superintendent probably would be saying something about that. So I think that we've brought clarity and transparency to the situation. And right now, we have a budget. Whether or not you want to take money out of that budget, I would assume, there's two options then. Either then they're going to say, well, then we need more general fund money to get to the same point, or if what you're really saying is you want them to just cut their budget, that's another thing. That's not an opinion I have right now, but that's kind of my understanding of the situation.
Well, to speak to the first item, which is sort of like how we got to where we are, I totally agree. We have much more transparency than we had originally. We will have further transparency. The tri-chair met and has committed to, in May or June, meeting and going over all the financial guidelines, what we use for free cash, the parameters by which we, the boundaries by which we stay as a town. In addition, we are adding this to the docket to be discussed of the expectations of how the town and the school committee can work together to come up with parameters by which that account is more well-regulated, so that we don't end up in this situation again, so there is clarity going forward. So we have all committed to doing that. School's aligned with that. School has come to every table and answered every question we've asked involving this account. We've pushed back a lot, both publicly and in tri-chair, pushed back a lot to get to a point where we think that, given the facts of what occurred, we can still put the school in a successful position, but we're not going to put the taxpayers in a worse off position. And they are they're continuing to commit to do that, and I think we will get there.
Would you like me to chime in, or?
Feel free. It's up to you, Jason. You're welcome to.
Well, I was just going to say, I actually agree with you that we should have a financial policy about the funds, and I think Nick and I could talk about that and figure that out. I don't disagree with that. Just to go over it again for clarity's sake, there has been years where this fund was at zero. That is not what we want. That is not good financial planning. That is not a situation. We will be coming to you for way more if we zero it out. That's just the facts. Yes, it grew in large part because, again, we get 3 payments from Nahant, so it comes beginning of the year, mid-year, end year, and then it will drop in June when we pay our teachers over the summer. We use this fund to pay for teachers, psychologists, special ed, counselors, you name it, anything that we can use it for. When there's a Nahant student in the building, that's what we use it for. Because of that, it will drop at the end of this year. The way we were able to go from 4.4% that was originally our number to 3.25 in large part was because we are spending down the account. Again, we don't think it's smart financial planning to zero it out. We will be coming to you for a much bigger ask, but this is how we were able to come to 3.25. And for what it's worth, and I know we're not other towns, there are towns that carry millions of dollars in revolving accounts. We are not there, nor would we ask to be there. But so that's my take on it.
And I just want to thank the superintendent for answering this question again and again and again. So this is at least the 3rd time that this question's been answered in a public meeting. So, my opinion is that it's been asked, it's been answered, and I think we should continue on with our meeting. So thank you, Superintendent.
So I am going to say, I am the one who's been asking, and I do have a difference of opinion on that fund. That fund was set up so that we could expedite money coming from Nahant directly into the school budget so that it wouldn't have to go through a town meeting approval. And the amount of money that was left in that account, there was never a discussion about how much money should be in that account. When that money was set up in the account, the amount that was left in was pretty minimal. It was actually 0 the first year, very minimal the next year. I think year number 3, it was like 164 and then jumps to 574. So with all due respect, I just think that having a cushion account without having a direct conversation with the taxpayers and town meeting on how accounts are going to be set up, and then going to the taxpayers and saying, we're going to be leaving money in a account, and then we're going to be taxing the unused levy, I think that that's a problem. So I respect what you're saying, I just have a different opinion.
I do think that we did all agree in the meeting that we had that this policy was a definite. So I'm not sure if we committed to a time frame for that.
I said.
Did you say a time frame?
Yeah, I said in May or June we will meet as a tri committee.
I didn't hear that.
No, that's okay. But the tri-chair just spoke about it this morning, just to really make sure we had our I's dotted and our T's crossed, which is now is not the time to talk about financial policy. We are in the middle of the budget, and we need to move forward with a budget that the school can rely on, that the town can understand. And once we get through this process, we will commit to having the conversation both about our financial policies, because that's been sort of swirling around for a year now, and this policy, and any other policy that the school or the town decides it doesn't have today, and it should.
I think it's important to note, too, that this year, we have made much more of a collaborative effort than I have ever seen. The 3 boards, the school committee, the select board, and the finance committee, multiple opportunities for open meetings together to talk about this very thing. And a very collaborative, transparent effort. And if I'm not mistaken, the school department has answered 11 to 12 pages of questions surrounding this account, surrounding its policies, its philosophy on budgets. And every question in between has been answered repeatedly by Cheryl Stella, by Jason Kalishman, in full public settings where people have had numerous opportunities. And the Finance Committee has done a really great job and asked a lot of questions that really made sense, and it has been the first time in a long time, in many years, that I've seen such a collaborative effort. And I'm disheartened that no matter what, and no matter how many times we do that, and we actually try to move forward collectively, we still come back to this question as if the school department is trying to do something nefarious, okay? When it's a revolving account with a very basic concept of in and out movement of funds, right? No matter what answer they give us, they still will not get any recognition or credit from members of this board, and that is incredibly disheartening to me. It's not that we shouldn't ask questions, we should, and we have, ad nauseum. But yet we still want to continue down this path. And I just find that really unfortunate, you know. So I thank you, Jason Kalishman. I thank you, Finance Committee, Cheryl Stella, who repeatedly is questioned and questioned and questioned, and has done nothing but answer in the most professional and appropriate ways, through emails, through memos, through public questions, through private questions, 12 pages of questions about budgets. So I don't know what else there is to say, right? I really don't, but I really do appreciate the effort.
Can you say where those 12 pages, where you can find those 12 pages?
You're in receipt of them, Mary Ellen, because we've all seen them.
I don't.
So for you to claim that they don't exist or you haven't seen them, that's shocking
I have
to me.
not seen 12 pages, but I will go back and look again.
The Finance Committee has seen them because they've drafted them and they've asked them. And Cheryl has responded to them, right? When they told us this publicly, we knew that.
Each and every time.
Each and every time. But we're still going to claim they don't exist.
So, I was about to move on.
Well, I won't let you yet.
That's fine.
And that's because I'm
Madam
going to
Chair.
echo that I am very proud of the collaboration that we have accomplished this year. And I think we have really tried our best to have a fresh start with a new superintendent and a new town administrator. And I am proud that we have come to the table multiple times in public session in an attempt to be very transparent, an attempt to try to get out of this cycle of us versus them, try to come to a place of understanding, try to be very collaborative. We are being very respectful. I appreciate that, but I think it's okay to have disagreement, and it's okay for you not to agree with what the four of us are saying, and that doesn't mean you stop disagreeing. But what it does mean is that eventually we have to move on, and I think that is sort of the position we're at. We will continue to be collaborative, and we don't want disagreement to get in the way of collaboration. And I just feel like at some point, we might go down that road again, and I don't want to go down that road again. We agreed to a fresh start, and that is what we are trying to do here. So now we can move on.
Now I can move on?
Please.
All right, so we do have discussion and possible vote on the budget on the agenda, but the Finance Committee has not
Correct.
finished its work, right? So we weren't really expecting to literally take a final vote on
That
it.
is literally
That's correct.
going to be here.
Yep, I understand.
From now until town
For
meeting.
the public's, for my knowledge, whatever, I just wanted to be clear with the expectations. So we're not even really, we don't have in front of us like the latest, greatest, you know, well, we kind of have it in the 5-year.
You do have, yeah, that is where we are right now. FinCom, I think, will have certainly opinions, places that they would like to make sure that we consider or make changes. So we're still waiting to get, they were also waiting for this projection so that they would have it, in fairness to them. So they've continued to meet, they've met with the schools, they've gone through the budget line by line with Patrick and I, but this was a deliverable that they were looking for from us as well, and it was my delay in getting it to them because I wanted to share it here first.
I suppose the only thing to say, though, is.
You said we were moving on, though.
I'm
just kidding, Doc.
Where do we stand at the average tax bill impact of this? Are we in the 800?
Can you pull that back up?
Yeah, 1 second. I think we did share that previously.
Yeah, I just,
Because it's different than what it was originally, right?
right, we've gone down once, but I don't know if that's where we're still at, or if there's been other changes, or. While Patrick's looking for it, Nick, are you aware, or anyone else aware of anything that the Finance Committee has identified or is significantly pursuing that would alter the last thing that we saw?
I do not know of specifics. The last meeting that they had was last Thursday, so I was with you all. I think the last discussion that I was a part of, there was sort of broad agreement, but they didn't start that night of having a discussion among themselves about their priorities, as opposed to having Patrick and I there 2 meetings in a row to get through the 500 lines, and then to have Jason and the team there at another meeting. So I think they're really getting into the meat of that just now, and this will help inform that discussion so they can see where the levy sort of runs out or where there's opportunities, both on the revenue and expenditure side, to make something work different. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
He was making a joke. It's not that funny.
It's $670, Doug. $670 to the job.
670?
Yes, $670, sorry.
So that is the average increase to the taxpayer.
As it stands right now.
As it stands right now.
Correct.
And does that include the CPA?
If you include the CPA, it's 680.
680, he said.
680.
The CPA only
That's $10?
adds $10.
That's the change year over year. That's not.
It's already baked in.
This is already baked in.
It's already.
It's already baked into the 670s.
This year we have the CPA.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. Is any additional discussion, or can we move on to capital? All right, let's move on.
Okay. So if you thought the last spreadsheet was bad to see online, you've seen nothing. So let me pull this up right now. What we have is the Capital Improvement Committee's prioritization, where they gave A, B, and C. Is what's the problem?
No, go ahead.
There's some vocalization happening in the hallway.
Oh,
I think
okay.
There's some
I
vocal
didn't-
warm-ups, so sorry,
Yeah.
we're a little distracted. Sounds great, though.
There we go.
So it's prioritized now?
We included how they had,
There's a rank column.
Yep.
so that first column, which, I mean, it's sort of fifth or sixth line from the right, but next to FY '27, to the left of FY '27, there's a ranking. They took a look at it and they talked a little bit at FinCom last week. If I could ask Patrick, I'm sorry with your voice, but if you could characterize the discussion there. I talked to Ryan a little bit. He came to discuss CIC's effort to prioritize, shared that with the Finance Committee, but I think, again, as with this, Finance Committee is looking to gather all the final information before they weighed in, if I'm not mistaken. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I'm.
Yeah, you're not mistaken. So Ryan Hale attended the Finance Committee meeting last Thursday. They ran through the capital plan with the prioritization that the Capital Improvement Committee assigned to each project, which was A, B, or C, which represents a must-do in their opinion, a strongly recommend, or a nice to have, could defer type project. So they ran through the list of projects with the prioritizations. A couple projects that were topics of conversation were the renovations at 89 Burrell Street, just understanding scope, timing better, and the track proposal. Those ones came up, and that was a lot of our conversation.
So
Where are we
in-
at with that?
in looking at this, the majority of these are either an A or a C. 3 of them are rated a B. I am shocked that,
There's only the one rated a C.
no, one of them is a C.
Yeah, there's
And
only
it-
one.
Another
And 3 of them are a B, but the majority are As. So what kind of priority, how are they determining priority? Like, what is driving the As? So every single thing they have here is an A. What set of criteria are they utilizing to grade them that way?
So it was a deliberation at a CIC meeting where they each were sharing opinions. I know from a very basic standpoint, what I recall was the idea that sort of life safety was something that they would immediately put as an A.
Yes.
And they would interpret that and deliberate on each project individually. I don't know that there was a,
So why isn't every project graded something?
Because it's in the out years. So they
No.
only
Oh.
ranked
No.
fiscal year
The
27.
branding, wayfinding, and demolition of Hawthorne has no rank at all.
Right, because there's no
Because
money.
There's
in
no
it.
money in
It's in the
fiscal
out
year
year.
2027.
Because it's an FY '28?
Yes.
Yeah, and why are we still carrying the $2 million?
Right, when it's not 2 million.
Okay.
Okay,
Probably
we'll,
good.
we'll fix that, but it looks
year at a
like
time.
from what they did, they took anything that's prioritized for 2027. Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
or tell
that's
me to be
correct.
quiet. And then in 2027, they prioritized only 2027.
Okay.
So I think it's a sort of a silly pursuit for them to prioritize 28 or 29, because number one, some more things could come on that sort of affect the scale. And number two, if some of these things don't get done, obviously they may reprioritize into a different year. So I think they,
Also, town meeting only votes on 27.
Correct.
The appendix includes the rest, so those are things that can float between years if necessary.
Right, but when we're looking at an overall picture for 5 years, we're looking at all of these things, right?
Right.
So
So-
I understand the thought process of ranking just those in the current fiscal year or the next fiscal year. But the importance of the other pieces in the following subsequent years will dictate our overall approach. Right? So I think just my opinion, the ranking system should just be for all of them, right? We should understand where our priorities are for all, right?
Oh.
Maybe exclusively for this year in terms of what we want to really accomplish, but,
That's certainly, sorry.
and I'm irritated that the demolition of Hawthorne is still showing 2 million when we talked about this a couple months ago, and we pointed out that it wasn't, right? So I
So-
would have at least expected that to be corrected by now.
We will correct that. I apologize, that's not updated. I would just caution that the 5-year capital plan is not everything we intend to do in 5 years.
No, but we
So
have to
if I
utilize
could- hold-
something,
hold-
right?
But I'm just saying, there are large projects like the school. There's many things that we would put in years 4 and 5 because they need to be socialized in the community so that people understand they are out there and they are coming, even if they stay in year 4 or 5 for 2, 3 town meetings and they're in the appendix and they're not progressing. Because we all, to your point exactly, people need to recognize that if we're talking about a $100 million project,
Right.
that it exists, whether or not we know the year it's coming. We have to, all the same reasons that you all wanted to make sure we put a projection together that was reasonably targeted and went out at least 5 years. When you're talking about a capital plan, years 4 and 5 are really about socializing big projects. 3 is almost aspirational. 1 is real and 2 is a little more real, but still not set in stone. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at it. So I don't know that prioritizing something that's in year 5 makes a ton of sense, because we're trying to give information to you all and to the
Sure.
town meeting members about a vote that's coming up in May. I apologize. Go ahead.
Sure, I mean, in the Burrell Street, 89 Burrell Street just has a question mark for rank, so I don't know what that means.
it says needs more information to classify. So there must be outstanding questions there that CIC did not have at the time of ranking in order
Correct.
to clearly ascertain where it should fall. And it's likely questions related to the timing of veterans crossings, and therefore determining if that money has to be spent in 27 or if that money could be pushed to 28 based on the
It is
cycle.
largely
funding.
influenced by that, and also the fact that, Max Marzi and others at Town Hall have been trying to run down information so that we can put together a plan, and with that plan, a cost for what that build-out should look like for the users. And so, since I started, we've met with them a few times. In the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we've probably made more progress in that we got a group of them together, the leadership of the different groups, to be in the room and say, these are the types of uses and needs we think we'll have here. And we still need to get more information from them to be able to move. I think it was last year's amended capital spending that has design money waiting for us, so that we can move to design and get a real cost and understand if, I think it's 600 in here, is accurate, and also, to Katie's point, which fiscal year it needs to be spent in.
Okay, well, I appreciate the efforts to move that forward.
Sure.
Right.
And also, I just think it's important to note that while this is going to be $600,000 potentially in 27, there's also a source of funds for this. So once the project's completed and B'nai B'rith is in receipt of a CO, there's a rent payment to the tune of about $1.6 million that's coming into the town. So I just think that it's important that we as a board made a decision to relocate the VFW to 89 Burrell Street with the explicit promise that that building was going to be, that we were going to take those funds and make it and improve that building. That's what we did.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make sure that, you know, because that's going to outlive the next few weeks. It's going to outlive the next few months and probably the next few years. So I just want to reflect that to the public that we, you know, we made a promise, we made a commitment, and we also have a source of funds. So any investment would be temporary until you know, it's really just a cash flow.
Which is something we have to talk about on the warrant, because there's a fund that we're supposed to be creating for that. But anyway, we'll come back to that.
Marcy's also applying for, she's looking to apply for funding for grant opportunities. Well, there's special funding for, you know, refurbishing buildings to be more handicap accessible. She feels pretty confident we're going to be able to get money for that.
So can I go a little macro and work backward just for a second? So this 7 million, basically, is what we have lined up for this year, right?
Yep.
And that's a normal debt load we take on each year?
Yeah, that's comparable to what we've been doing, yes.
But am I missing the track?
No, it's on the first page.
On the first page.
It's the only thing that's ranked C, which is
Yeah.
a nice to have, could defer.
All right.
No, there's a couple of
We'll get to your track, Mary Ellen, in just a second.
Sorry, we're going to stay on track with Doug.
Oh, sorry about this.
A little bit to Danielle's point, I feel like we've got an option here, right? We have now 2 other committees that, and according to public reports, I wasn't there for the meeting, there was a robust discussion between the Finance Committee and the Chair of the Capital Improvement Committee about this. And I think the Finance Committee had some pointed questions about some of these things. And I expect that there'll be more discussion on this amongst the Finance Committee tomorrow night. Did you say that meeting?
Yes, tomorrow night.
So, you know, we can sit here and kind of go through each one of these if we want. Or, you know, is there anything, Patrick or Nick, that you know of from those discussions, or if anyone else was at that meeting, that is a major question mark? I mean, I have a little bit of just a confusion about the paving, because my last understanding was that actually there was money left over from last year to do most or all of Atlantic Avenue, which is what's kind of pointed out here. So I'm not really sure what happened to that, or if that didn't turn out to be true, or what, but that's a question I have.
I don't have the answer. I'd have to ask Gino if it's something that happened last
Looks like
meeting.
Patrick has the answer.
I can just jump in. From my memory, last town meeting, we did not authorize the normal level of funding for paving because we had a backlog of projects and authorizations that would fund those projects.
Yeah.
So this is more in line with our normal kind of cadence of paving funding this year. And Gino paves based on the pavement management plan, the analysis that I think Beta Group did several years ago to assess the condition of the road. So he's going off that list in terms of how projects are prioritized, and also looking at when utility work is going to be finished, because you don't want to pave a road and then rip it all back up again to do utilities. So
that all
that's the
generally sounds
logic.
good.
Yep.
If it didn't say Atlantic Avenue in here, I wouldn't have a question, but I had a specific conversation with him that led me to believe that that was actually already
I had a
funded.
specific conversation with him too, and this is the data I got from him, so I can go back and just get
Maybe things evolved.
clarification.
All right. And then,
Sorry, go ahead, Doug, finish your.
no, I'll relent.
Okay, I guess, for me, I just want to make sure if we could help clarify any of these question marks. In this conversation, I think we just gave a little bit more. I don't think we have clarity on the timing of the veterans' contribution. We have I think, to David's point, this is a
cash flow
problem, thank you. That this is money we're going to put up front and then get back. This is an investment we all agreed to make in our veterans. And we need to get all the parties to the table a little bit faster, maybe. I don't know. This is not a criticism to you, but this is just in general so that we could make sure that we're going to be in aligned with timing. Because if we get down to the end of things and the timing is off, it won't be the veterans' fault, it will be our fault, and we just really need to try to make haste so that they understand the timing. So if we are deferred in any way, they understand the consequences of that deferment, which could be them without a home for a period of time if we can't all get to the table, make decisions, have a feasibility study done, understand the cost, get it approved by town meeting, and get things rolling.
I think to that point, it's reasonable, you know, whatever the number is here, that we have a number in here, because I think we're gonna have to spend before we get the money, right?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be getting moved out.
Correct.
You know, before.
I think everyone would benefit from us underlining that it's money that will be, for all intents and purposes, reimbursed.
Yes.
At the point of the CO, so
That's
that
right.
it's not borrowing, over the longer term, it's borrowing to make sure we can make it happen.
And won't we have 300,000 available to us out of the Affordable Housing Trust that's already been allocated to this project?
I think there has to be clarity on how we can spend that
That was my
$300,000.
understanding.
Not on this project. That has to go to the housing.
That's what I
Yes.
think.
Can't go to
It's not going to.
89 Borough Street.
It's not going to Benet directly, but it is, yes.
It's in the housing part.
It's in the housing part and not in the reallocation or improvement of a building, which is used for rehousing.
So couldn't we could,
That's right.
at
Sorry,
town meeting, get funding out of our capital stabilization? This is just a thought. We could do just a cash flow issue, taking something out of capital stabilization, depending on where it leaves us within our percentages, and then reimburse capital stabilization when we get income coming in. That wouldn't affect anything tax-wise or debt-wise.
Yeah, right, because this, I mean, this is just a plan, right? That's different than ultimately, I don't know, technicality.
I'm just saying, if we have to, if we have to have a vote, if we need to do something at town meeting to just have a vote to allow us to use those fundings, that, by using that funding, it wouldn't affect anything on the debt service. It wouldn't slow anything up. All you're doing is, you're just helping your cash flow. You're just taking a little loan.
Could we take the next week to look into that and actually
Yeah.
talk to you about it next week in more detail? That way it's a little less
Mhm.
hypothetical and we can see what hurdles there might be other
But
than drafting
I
an
understand
article.
that, yes, I would,
Does that work?
yeah, definitely works for me. It's just, it's an idea to look at that. I think that might work. But I'm a little concerned about the track. I mean, they're ranking it as C. What are they thinking we're gonna do here? If we have a track, we have a
Maybe
track right now, is there a possibility we can use CPA funds because the track is a recreational?
We have spent CPA funds more
50 times
times
over.
as a I mean, this might be a great idea, but I just want to caution everybody. First of all, the CPA, Doug, maybe you were going to say this, so.
In the short run, the answer is no. You can't really spend much of anything in the short run. It's not really until like next year's town meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick.
Next year's town meeting?
Next year's town meeting.
It would really be spending, there's gonna be some things we'll talk about here, there's be allocations set aside, whatever. I've been frustrated about this, but the CPA masters say this is the way it has to be. Maybe you could do something in December, I don't know, but right now, no.
Also, we don't control the CPA
No.
funding. There's
So-
a committee created.
No, but we
Could
could
I
make
just,
recommendations.
they basically have their own budget that they receive applications for projects, both from the town, from nonprofits, from whoever wants to make an improvement on the housing, historic preservation and recreation. They make all of those decisions, and
Right.
the sort of end of the input from this board was the approval of the board itself.
Right.
That's it, that's where it ends.
And our nominee.
Well, we could put in
Exactly.
an application.
Correct, we can put in
can.
applications.
We can.
Well, it still brings me back to,
There's a really important factoid that I'd love to confirm. Somewhere it floated that there was significant revenue offset on the track.
what?
Am I
Yeah, just like the football.
hallucinating about this? None.
There's
No.
none.
I don't,
There's none.
I did
don't
not
know.
hear
Okay.
that.
Well, so what is the plan then for this track? I mean, if CIC is saying it's a C, I don't know how it's a C.
The plan is
That's
to
their
let it continue to deteriorate into the state of disrepair that we've let 3 elementary schools continue to deteriorate and why they got to the point they got to. Because we insist on kicking the can down the road, down the road, down the road, as if it's not important because, it's used solely for 1 or 2 track meets. As if the people in this town that just want to walk around it don't use it. Of course they do. And we actually had people come and speak about this at a meeting, and we all actually sat here and said, we really wanted CIC to look closely at it. And they turn around and they give one of, 2 Cs on this whole list of things, and one of them is to that track.
Patrick, did they give any reasons for it? Was there
Yeah, so for the projects that are rated C, the main thing they considered was how much of the population might be served by the asset.
Which is insanity to me, because no offense to school department, if I take a look and see the staff device refresh, who does that serve? For $100,000, that serves just your staff at the school, right? You want to talk about how limited that is compared to a track that the entire public can use, as well as kids that pay fees to actually participate in sports here, right? So where does that, how does that make sense? It doesn't to me, but.
So let me further discuss that. So just to piggyback on your point, Danielle, the sewer main rehabilitation right here, $3.5 million in this upcoming fiscal year. We've already spent 8 figures, right?
That's sewer enterprise.
Oh, no, understood. I understand that.
It's a grant.
That's a whole different.
It's
A low-interest loan.
But it hasn't been, not all the time, not every time.
It's not,
It will be this time, though.
Okay,
It's a whole-
but I'm
that's a
saying,
whole different-
but I'm
that's a whole
saying
different
previously, it's the same, it's a different pocket from the same pair of pants. We're all paying for it. My point is, we've spent 8 figures, and there was an email that was sent out by a FinCom, the vice chair of the finance committee, Eric Schneider, just looking to the point where the town has spent over $3 million fixing over 500 private sewer laterals in town. So we have 15,000 residents, and we have 500 people, 3% approximately, that benefited from the private sewer laterals being addressed. I mean, that's, to me, it looks like if there's $3 million there, I mean, we could have spent another $1 million on a track. We could have spent money doing other things. We could have spent money fixing our pipes. And it's my understanding, Mr. Town Administrator, that we continue to spend public dollars on private laterals.
Yep, and as the details that I've been able to get, and it's been spotty, as you are aware, the work for IDDE has talked about making those improvements going back to 2017. In public meetings, it's been discussed that was part of the effort that would be done because it was a part of the IDDE work. It is not something that only occurred in the last near term. It's been, appropriated as a capital project multiple times. DPW director and others have spoken to it publicly a number of times, but it's absolutely something that it would be great to look for opportunities with something like a betterment assessment if we're doing prospectively in the future to make sure that we are capturing those costs as the improvements are made.
I think as a taxpayer, as a ratepayer, I think we should try to see if there's anything that we can do to recoup all or a portion of those funds for the ratepayers and taxpayers of the town of Swampscott. I think it's important that we brought in we brought in the superintendent and the administrator, the finance person, Cheryl Herrick-Stella, and had them answer a litany of questions. Had 2 separate meetings for for an MOU around a utility. $200,000. This is $3 million. That's been ongoing, and we just have spotty information. I don't believe this was ever approved or authorized by the select board or by town meeting. And this is an enormous amount of money, and this is a problem that continues to be ongoing, where we're spending public dollars fixing private sewer laterals. I understand that we're trying to fix a problem here, but there has to be something that's done. There has to be some accountability. So at our next meeting, I would like to have a conversation to figure out what happened, what continues to happen and how we can address this moving forward. Because I don't want to see our funds being spent addressing something that is really the responsibility of each individual homeowner in town. We're setting a dangerous precedent. We've already paid for
We've already
500. We've already paid for 500 private sewer laterals. What about, what happens with the other 14,500 residents of town?
Well,
Well, we have a proposed
I was
bylaw
gonna
on the
say-
warrant.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I would say for,
Does that?
there's the history and then there's the future, right? So we had a lateral bylaw come before us last year,
Yeah.
which for whatever reason, for
We
a
withdrew,
sort of
didn't
a bunch of errors, ended up not being on the warrant last year. It was rescinded from the warrant. It is going on the warrant now. It will be, when we open the warrant, you'll see. It has already been vetted by council, it's been vetted by the Water Sewer Infrastructure Committee, and
It's with council
I'm
after
sorry,
water
okay.
sewer infrastructure forwarded it.
Great.
Yes.
And it is something that, at the time last year, we all supported to go forward with.
did.
But for for reasons related to council and some typographical errors in how it was distributed, it was chosen to be take off the warrant. This is how we're fixing it in the future. I mean, I agree with you that it would have been great if there was a more clear written policy. Okay, this is a sort of a Achilles heel, if you will, for what we've been going through. And part of growing in this process is figuring out where the policies are lacking and putting proper standard operating procedures in place so that we are not coming to these conversations continually and that we are limiting these conversations going forward. And I don't disagree, like, I don't know legally if you can recoup those dollars. So we'd have to reach out to council and see what can be done. But to your point, I don't agree that the DPW director went forth, or anybody went forth without clear authorization to spend the money as it was related to IDDE work. It was disclosed that we were doing it in public meetings since 2017, you said? That we were doing it. And when we voted on it, whether it was us or our predecessors, there was a awareness that it was done within that work that Gino was putting forward as IDDE work.
I mean,
I think I was aware there was $3 million, actually. So
No.
tribute to Eric Schneider, if that's really what the total is for it. So it's a great point. And I think that circles back, I think your overall point was that we could spend that for something like, we could spend that much for, how many was it?
500.
500.
I think we probably have 500 people that use the track.
Mhm.
Is that really where this started,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, we need
So
to bring it back.
Can we just like go to the, is that okay if we get back on track?
So many track puns.
So I think the sentiment I'm hearing is that we disagree with the ranking being a C.
Yeah.
Yes, we
And
do.
The sense of the board, I don't know if it's a unanimous sense, but the sense of the board is that this is a high priority. Maybe it doesn't qualify as a must-do under the criteria of the Capital Improvement Committee, but there's a sense here that that should be a much higher priority.
And I have one question for the superintendent who is here. What is your athletic fee?
$450 at the high school.
$450. And how many children run outdoor track? Do you have any idea? Someone quoted it at the last meeting of how much revenue is actually brought into the school department by people that run on this track. And I think that's an important distinction, that we have parents paying $450 per runner that participate in track and cannot actually run because we are choosing to grade this as a C.
The kids can get hurt.
In addition
Because
to
it's
the
a
fact
hazard.
that it's a liability.
In middle school, I think it's 100.
I knew that in the middle school there was over 100, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what the plan, I'm just wondering, what the plan is for CIC, because these are people that do think things through.
Oh, it's the same. The fee is not, sorry, Mary Ellen. Is the
No.
fee the same?
No, the fee isn't the same at the middle school and the high school. The high school fee is $450. Middle school fee is $275, I believe.
That just shows that David didn't pay his way.
275, no, I did just pay. It went up.
I will say, just for the record, they're all going up all over the place, athletic
Of
fees.
course.
I mean, Beverly Hockey's going to be $1,000 next year. This is.
Right. But to
I
the
kn-
point of, this is what people are paying to use this track, that people,
Right.
that we're saying not enough people run on to replace. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
This is where I was referencing my number earlier. I think there was
Yes.
a number floated, something like, there's $75,000 or something that comes
Right.
in fees that somehow are associated
Right.
with this track.
Right.
So,
Mr. Colella, the runner. I
Yes,
mentioned his
Mrs.
number.
Colella, who even spoke
Yes.
with that figure, was here.
Mary Ellen, you were saying, apologies for the interruption.
I just, usually they have a, there's a thought process, but there's nothing here. It just says the $1 million to see, it doesn't put it anywhere else. I just think that,
All-inclusive price
we just
estimate,
need
what
to
do you mean?
get more information on what they're thinking about. I mean, I don't know, are they thinking about that it's not gonna be $1 million, that maybe, it can be a repair?
No, we talked
Cannot
about
be a-
that
that's
last,
confirmed, it
Right.
cannot be a repair.
And
yes,
we
they
had-
don't make the,
We spoke to that at the
Last
meeting
Right,
with the
but-
CIC as well, that
CIC.
repair was not an option
All right.
at this point.
All right, so I think if we could just find that out, and I'm just gonna say, one concern that I have is, I still see vehicles coming up here, and nothing personal, Max, but I don't understand why the facility director needs a car. We're a town of less than 3 miles, and, we could pay a subsidy, I think it's 51 cents a mile.
I'm more than
I
that.
think it's 70.
Yeah, it's
75.
like
75? Oh, really? 75?
Probably
So
going up.
it could cost us $1 a day if Max has to leave, his office and go to another building. I just think we need to think about these things. Then you have a vehicle for the fire chief. I know the fire chief's vehicle actually only has 72,000 miles on it, according to what you told me, Nick. Why we need to spend close to another $100,000 on that. These are things that I think that we have really tough priorities and things that we need. And I don't think these are priorities.
I will just say that the reason those came in, and I'm not judging the quality of whether they should stay, is that we've generally downcycled vehicles for other use, and I know, like Max and Gino were both at the, as I understand, at the tail end, definitely Gino's, I'm not even sure what you're driving, of a vehicle that's gone through 1 or 2 other departments already, and it doesn't really run well anymore, and it's at the point that we're now spending more money to maintain. In the case of the fire department, the deputy chief, and fire prevention, that vehicle is falling apart. And so this is something where they would be downcycling. And I realize, we've had discussions in the past. I just want to highlight, we're not junking a vehicle that's still running with 72,000 miles. We're junking the vehicle that's 20 years old and is no longer, something that we can maintain.
Right, but I'm also saying, do we really need all these vehicles? I mean, I
That's-
think
I'm
that
happy
in the
to have that
past, we
discussion.
needed these vehicles, but I think that at some point, we gotta say, you know what? Do we really need these vehicles on, in a 7-day work week?
Or why doesn't it fall into the nice-to-have category?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what is a sense of
Why do
a
you-
ranking system if we're ranking everything a must-do A? Like, that doesn't, not when we're in the situation we're in. That doesn't, I feel like the Capital Improvement Committee is not hearing us. I feel like they're not understanding the severity of what we're doing, town, school, every other department, trying to figure this out. Like, I feel like we keep saying the same things over and over about this plan, and no one is listening. And it's really frustrating me.
I mean, another question I have is on all this student device refresh. Has there been consideration on people buying their own devices? Other than people that can't afford it?
Well,
it's an
it
equity.
becomes an equity issue. It really does. And it becomes an issue as far as I was thinking you were saying bring your own devices, sorry. That becomes a issue as far as if kids bring their own devices, then we can't help troubleshoot the issues that they have, and we can't keep them off certain websites.
And regulate.
Say it that way. And as far as the device paying for them, it becomes an equity issue. Yeah.
So, just like when you go to school and there's textbooks, you know what textbook you have to buy. You can't say, when you start in the, whatever grade it is, this is the device you need to have. Just like the calculators, you have calculators you have to buy coming into the school.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly discussed it. I think that there was a lot of debate over the years about this, and we're really thankful that the devices have been provided, that they've been put on capital and approved before, and we're obviously hoping that's the case. because of the equity issue. That's the best I can say. Ms. Mackey Knowles isn't here right now, so she could probably speak to the specifics of why it's important as far as the devices go a little bit better than I could.
You
But
require someone to have a $500 laptop, and I can't buy my kid a $500
it's different, exactly.
laptop. What do I do?
No, I think.
You understand the equity
That's
piece,
what we're
yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
No, but I think that, you know, I think that population should be subsidized, but I think there's also a very large population that
Could pay.
could pick up.
So can we go back to the vehicles for a second? I want to push you on this, Nick, a little bit. And maybe it's just to make sure you're definitive. In your estimation, both the facilities director and DPW electric vehicles are must-do this year.
I did not rank order them into must-do and not. I included them in the plan.
I know,
as presented.
I know you
Yeah.
didn't, I know you didn't put the A, so now I'm
Yeah.
asking you.
I included it in the plan as something that we would like to do this year. This is a proposal. It is not the end-all be-all. This is a recommendation that was made that I'm more than happy to take feedback from you, FinCom.
Well, we don't have the now, I'm asking you, I'm sincerely asking, I'm not saying I have an opinion, because I really
Yeah.
don't know, I haven't gone and inspected the car or whatever.
I
It's a little
also-
awkward with Max sitting here, so I'm trying to pretend Max isn't
Close
sitting
your
here.
eyes.
But I just want to just get to, I don't want us to just keep floating ideas and like not
Yeah.
really clear what the end result is. So,
I also did not inspect the vehicle myself, but I rely on the department heads when they put in requests like that, that it is something that is, of need this year. Both of these things have been on the plan for multiple years as well. This is not the first year.
I think the overall question is, do we really need this vehicle? I think that's, finally going back and thinking about things, because I think it's the same thing that we do constantly. Is this something that we really need?
Well,
And-
can we simply take a look at Max's vehicle, see how many miles on it, and multiply it by 0.7 cents and determine whether this is a good investment or not? Because if we aren't paying him for that, if the mileage is on the vehicle, that's money we saved not paying Max to use his own vehicle. So, I mean, wouldn't that tell us if this is a good investment for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I'm actually talking in general terms as far as really looking and really identifying, do we actually need these, do we actually need?
I know, but I'm
these
saying that
vehicles?
the only way we can determine need is based on usage. So I would think we would look at the usage and determine, does the usage justify the need? So that's based on mileage, that's
Right.
what a vehicle does. So look at the mileage and see how much mileage has been used, and we'll determine, he or another department head has had vehicle for X number of years, it's gone X number of miles, so the investment is either a new vehicle or this number of miles times whatever the return is.
I would also just, in the case of specifically DPW and facilities, a personal vehicle might not be appropriate for them to be using, transporting, doing whatever it is that they may be using the vehicle for.
Yeah.
So.
right, because the other option
Facilities
here
director
is-
that has a generator in his trunk when it's his personal vehicle is something completely different than
Right.
using a new or downcycle vehicle that is town-owned and, it's not wear and tear that I think is reasonable in these two cases. Because they do, if I was saying every department head should have one, that's a completely different argument.
Right.
And at town hall, there are the two pool vehicles that there's actually probably demand, if we were to get everyone using it outside of the building commissioner, there would probably be demand for a third, and that's something that we can certainly look on over time to say a future, but in these cases specifically, like their uses is, they would have things in their vehicle that a person may not want in their personal vehicle, to be completely honest. Whereas health, myself, like we can jump in one of these pooled vehicles that are at town hall if we needed to.
Wait, Health has a vehicle?
No, he uses the
Pool,
pool.
use the pool vehicles.
He uses a pool vehicle, the fleet pool, whatever you want to call it.
You almost lost me there.
Daniel, I could feel you.
I feel like I'm back in the cell
For
phone
inspections.
debate from last year,
Yeah,
where
no.
Well, for
everybody's got a cell
So
phone.
it's for inspection. I'm just saying, like, building uses it almost all the time, and I know that there's some demand from others, so. And these cases are separate and apart than a building commissioner going to do his or something like his.
So here's what I'd ask you, to be very specific.
Yeah.
I'd ask you to just go back around one more time over the next week and come back with a clear, ideally like 2 bullet point, this is why we must buy these 2 vehicles this year. Because they must have a town vehicle that transports X, Y, and Z. And therefore, it has to be a $50,000 electric vehicle, not a $25,000 electric vehicle. And it's most cost-effective to do that, just so we're.
I will.
Thank you.
And please utilize the need to have, want, or must have, right? With that thought process in mind. Because that, I don't think people are understanding the severity of what is want versus need, right? And I love leaving it to department heads to decide, but I'm tasking you.
I hear you.
Well, I think just to be clear, the ranking was done by CIC, right?
Correct.
Everyone understands that, I think.
Okay,
They're
okay,
asking for-
sorry.
I think both of you are asking for something different.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay,
District security improvements.
can't ask about that.
Which is that?
I can't ask.
Super secret. Security.
Okay. So I guess I'll direct the same type of question to schools, right? District security improvements.
Where's that?
Where's that?
Just going down that same page.
Facilities?
Page 2. Facilities, school buildings.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's facility. Oh, school buildings there.
You know, as succinctly as you wish. You know, I know this is CICs. I imagine it comes from you all in terms of the must-do. But can you give us an example of why it's a must-do this year?
Sure. So the district security upgrades is a number of like security projects. Most of them are at the high school. I think the best example is the duress buttons. So the duress buttons, the elementary school and the middle school have a duress button system that is pushed at certain locations in the building to alert authorities as directly and quickly as possible in the case of a likely shooting event at a school. There's not that type of system here at the high school. So one of the projects that is part of this is to install duress buttons at the high school so that we also have those buttons in place at the high school.
That's an A+, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we did.
You were joking before.
I wasn't joking. I was being facetious because I really didn't want to go down this road, but.
Oh, you knew what it was.
Well, it says SHS duress button, SHS intrusion alarm, security system, and it's a similar project to what we did at the middle school, right? Like, well, we made certain upgrades at the middle school to allow for us to be able to do this going forward, right?
Yeah, well, like the duress button, for example, we were able to do at the middle school because it actually integrates with the fire alarm system.
Okay.
And it actually communicates out with the fire alarm system. And then at the elementary school, it's even more intensely integrated across systems, so.
I think I stepped in it one year and asked this question and come to find out, I mean, I just feel like this does not just, this obviously does not just protect our students, it obviously also protects our staff and is of paramount of importance, so.
And what about the envelope improvements at the high school?
Envelope improvements at the high school?
Yeah.
That is, so the envelope, generally roof, facade, windows. That specific project is mostly targeting, it's called an EFIS system. You actually can't see it in most of the places that you look at the building. It kind of looks like a stucco. It's in a number of the areas on the building that are like up on the roof, but like vertical sections, some large sections that we've had inspected, and we have some failures, and we have a project to do a significant repair so we don't have intrusion over time. There's a couple other like smaller projects that we're considering with the envelope, but that's the biggest one, and I think the best example.
Thank you.
Well, we're on it. High school flooring. Flooring looks great out there. What, $250K more for what?
Yep, the high school flooring project, so at this point, we've done the lobby, we did the hall heading out there, we did the hall that leads to this room. The project as proposed is to do the rest of the vinyl sheet flooring in the building replaced with LVT. LVT is the product that we have in the lobby and here. There's a number of areas of the building, like the halls on the second and third floor, the floor right in front of you. That's a VCT that is in very good shape. It's waxed over the years. The sheet product has failures at a lot of the seams. You would have noticed it in the atrium over time that we repaired. Cafeteria has a lot of seam issues. We've done a lot of patching. So this is a pretty firm number. We have quotes. It's just to replace the rest of the vinyl sheet material with LVT in those very specific locations.
And they can't wait. It's not something that we can put off 2 years, 3 years.
It's actually a B. This is one that is a B.
It's a B,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I couldn't sit here and tell you it couldn't wait.
Right.
I mean, it's a good project. We're ready to do it, but
Yep. It's like,
there to some of the others.
if you don't do these things, then people tell you that you don't maintain your buildings, right?
Well, right. I
So,
mean,
but if you do
yes.
do these things,
Spending too much money.
you're spending too much money, right? So it's like a catch-22, really. Thank you, Max.
Yeah, but I think just to Doug's point, we asked the town administrator to go through and ensure that all of these, based on this, I think, based on the CIC rankings, are appropriate based on our understanding of them. So we would ask the superintendent and the facilities director to do the same and just ensure, based on the, I'll call it the severity of the situation, that we are really ensuring that what we are putting forth to capital is really as vetted as the Nahant revolving account. How about that?
And what is the possibility of getting someone, like a local, a local business or someone who's graduated from the schools to pick up the fee on the track, or, I don't know about renaming the track, but, I mean, have we looked at that?
I would like to have that conversation.
We have some
I
ideas.
am waiting to connect with at least one potential outlet to help defray the cost. If you have any other individuals or
Are you offering
citizens-
Mary Ellen? Not today. You want it to be the Mary Ellen Fletcher track?
If there's anyone you'd like us to reach out to, I think both Jason and I would be happy to figure out the,
Katie Phelan track?
Don't look at me, I gotta put my kids through college.
I mean, I don't know, do we have to consider the naming, like naming rights and things like that? I mean,
We do have a
right.
We would. I mean, remember we talked about the signage even in the
Yep.
fall, we were looking
Got
at,
it.
but one of the things we did do is that we looked at New Balance on there. We sort of filled out a little blurb on New Balance because I know they did some work in Gloucester. And then I talked to somebody at Puma. I just kind of went down the circuit there. Unfortunately,
It's competitive.
well, it's not even that. It's like towns like Swampscott, they're not feeling so sorry for us that they're going to
No.
fund a new track. But I think it's worth looking into other ones. And that was just me going online and filling out a little form. It's not like I called their offices or anything. So I think that. And then Max had another thing that happened.
Yeah, we did also apply for a grant through Institution for Savings. It's one of the banks in Vinton Square that just has a program where they fund projects like this. They've done it in some other communities, but we didn't get it.
I would also say, to Mary Ellen, to your point, one of the things that I want to continue to do is like sort of lean on alumni, get that alumni network going. We're just not quite there yet.
What about aggregate?
AmRise.
yes, it's the third name since I've been here, but yeah, I'm waiting for my tour because it was postponed in the fall.
Get there, Connors, get there, come on.
Okay, it's not for lack of trying, it was for lack of planned.
Confusing.
They want me up there on a day that they're actually doing blasting, so I
Of
can see
course.
what the impacts are like. And I had one planned for late fall and it fell through, so I am looking to get back up there. Attorney Drukas and Garrett both know that I am looking forward to it, but we just need to get a date.
And I think the other thing is this, I mean, it's, as Nick is, or Jason is going out and asking people to support some of these capital improvements, I think we have to show that we're willing to put our money down first sometimes before people, like, these aren't nice to haves, they're needs to haves, and if you don't help us, we're gonna figure out a way to do it. But like incentivizing that through the process that we've already vetted, that it's an important project for us. so them to understand the impact. Something like the track, which, you know, while only recently came a part of the budget, has been a pivotal part of these conversations, that we've had citizens show up and have concerns over it, that we've been advocates for it, would show that, you know, if somebody is listening, or we know somebody and they want to make a contribution, this is a significant way to do it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we did some digging on this recently, actually, as far as naming rights and the costs. And I don't know, I'm leaning over and not just and a lot of some school districts had sort of like $100,000 donation gets you this named thing, but in this case, that doesn't get you there.
No.
Right.
You know, we wouldn't. So somebody's getting the track named after him. We can't even afford it still. So we'd need to really up it to.
$1 million.
I think it might be useful for Jason and I to talk about it. The other option would be you pay a percentage of the total cost, and we are open to naming it. It will not be a corporation. It will not be, you know, like, we have to set the guidelines so that we're not,
Right.
we don't get a cannabis name.
New Balance track. Right. Or the,
New Balance track, I think, it actually isn't.
isn't as bad as the cannabis track. Yeah.
But I mean, in New Balance's case, I think it's almost always a New Balance Foundation that's making it, so you're you're referencing a nonprofit that just happens to have the name of the business in it.
Right.
But I think maybe we could come back after town meeting, to be honest, so that we have some time to look and to see what works in other communities, and even if it's something that would require multiple sort of higher level donations, how can we recognize
Right.
whether it's something standard, like even the granite marker that we have for the beaches, that you will put your name in it for 10 years or 20. This is the same thing that I talked about with the benches.
Yes.
It cannot be forever. It is for a capital need now. We want to figure out how to recognize you that's reasonable, but we also need to come back to you again or find someone else in 15 years, you know, or 10 years. So
Yep.
if we could plan for June, if that works for folks, while we continue to look for opportunities to help fund this particular capital need, I feel like that might be an
Did Jenny Armini get us $30,000 for it?
What'd you say?
Jenny Armini, did she get us $30,000 for it or something? Wasn't that what she got?
35.
35,000. So it's only 9.
Oh, so we don't need $1 million.
Yeah, it's just 960 for
Oh, so
We
now
just,
you want to open
we
your
can fill a
checkbook?
little thermometer and we're partway
Yeah,
there.
literally.
Shake the
like
cans.
Fireworks.
Yeah.
Shake the cans at Vin and the mall.
All right, if we've run down enough of the donor list, we can move on to the town administrator's 6-month evaluation.
So you all have a,
So the same, just to wrap, this is same category. We're waiting for FinCom to do their final,
Yes.
and then next week.
Yep, and now we've asked
Yeah.
a couple people
Yeah.
in this room to do the same, and so we'll talk about it again next week.
and just where FinCom is, they didn't have the opportunity to have Ryan with them until last Thursday, so this week will be one of the times that they're talking in more detail about capital outside of that. Give us your feedback, let us understand how you prioritize, so just wanted to level set for you all. The administrator review is part of the contract and the charter, that after 6 months, I get a review, so I can get feedback, improve, better, not perfect. This is a form that's been used by a few other towns with TAs that I know. Obviously open to changes. Are you all providing feedback however you would like? Do you want me to walk through how?
So, so I've actually already, I looked at the form. We're gonna use this form for this year. If you have feedback about the form,
Why are we using this form?
why
And
not?
well, we've had a form for years. Why aren't we just using the form that we've used before?
Because we have a new TA and we discussed using a new form, and so I picked a new form.
The only reason, well, a couple things. One is, we didn't discuss it, but,
No, I said I discussed. The town administrator and I discussed
oh.
it. This is our discussion.
Okay, so a couple things. One is, you know, there's only 3, we've had a form before, which I thought was, you know, worked pretty well. And then on this, there's only 3 categories. And I just thought the other form gave more, you know, more feedback or a little bit more leverage to, you know, you might not want to say improvement needed, or maybe it's a smaller amount of improvement needed versus satisfactory. So that's just my opinion on that one. And the other thing here is, it says here, shall not be publicly released. I know we've talked about this before, and my understanding from KP Law is that these are public documents and they are to all be released, so.
So what is a public document is the
Summary.
culmination or summary of Nick's evaluation. What our stance, and we have reviewed this with KP Law, it's actually in Nick's contract, is that we will not make the individual evaluations public. And if somebody wanted to have a FOIA request and then take it up to, what do they call it, the administrator of records, or however?
Supervisor.
Supervisor of records, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But very similar to other towns, we are going to make the summary public and not the individual evaluations.
Yeah, I think all of this is correct. Like, I
Thank
think,
you.
I mean,
I concur.
I concur.
Okay, no.
You know what I'm saying? But I was concurring with both of you, because I think my recollection is that at the end of the day, we did feel as though, I thought we got some of this in perspective from KB Law, that at the end of the day, we might not be defensible to keep this, even the individual ones,
Right.
private.
But our policy,
But our policy and our stance is such, yes.
So our policy and our stance is not to release it, but if somebody wants to file a FOIA and then go to the state records, that's the avenue that they have to go, and our chances of being able to defend that are pretty much slim.
I don't know if they're
However,
slim.
however, we can protect the privacy of our town employees. And
As much as possible.
As
Well, I
much,
think there's
as
a
much as
difference.
possible.
I think there's a difference in town employees versus the town administrator. My understanding is in these types of rulings.
And,
Well-
and
Let me
this
see.
is,
I mean-
this is where town council talks out of both sides of their mouth. So town council will say one thing, and then you ask them and you squeeze in another direction and they say something completely different. So I would think we should err on the side of caution. We should protect some of the privacy, and as Katie stated, we can certainly release the consolidated review, and that's the public document. That's been the practice that we've had for as long as I've been on the board.
We can err on the side of contractual obligation until
Yeah.
we are told otherwise. Because our contractual obligation to Nick is that we will not release these for the time being. And if we are put forth with a decision to do so, then we will inform the town administrator of that obligation.
Okay, when are we getting these back by?
So, if you could all get them back to me by,
Wow.
by the, end of, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, what does that make it? A little over a week and a half. If we need more time, we can discuss, but
That's the 17th.
the 17th, thank you.
Or you would just need it before the election.
Some of us certainly would.
Hmm?
Some of us certainly would.
I think to allow time for a summary to be prepared.
Yeah, and if I have any
Like he's
additional
asking.
questions, I don't want to have to call Doug on his off time. I'll call him when he's a
They
select
said
board
call him
member.
anytime.
Call him on his birthday.
So can I just ask, this is our evaluation, right, we own this, or did we get it from somewhere else, from another town, or is this one?
I asked around, it's something that I found
Okay.
in my conversations with other TAs that have been used in a couple towns.
Okay. Great.
All right. That is the town administrator's 6-month evaluation. Now, discussion and possible vote to open the annual town meeting warrant, May 18th, 2026, including review, discussion, and votes on articles for inclusion in the warrant. This sounds very impressive, but
So, can I just share where we are?
please share where we are, because
So we, in the packet, had presented sort of the anticipated articles. We, since then, have provided this printout, which does not have sewer lateral. It will. I'm just letting everyone know that it's not in there. And the other topic that I just wanted to discuss with you all as a board, and I had a brief discussion with the incoming moderator, and I plan to talk to the current moderator at some point next week as well, but now that we have 2 annual town meetings and we're not chasing a date to be scheduled in the fall, there may be some utility to saying we're going to do zoning in the fall and budget in the spring for, not that it will always be like set in stone, but the goal is to do zoning in the fall budget in the spring in order to load balance for town meeting membership, and also to allow for, specifically when it comes to zoning-related bylaws, anytime that there's someone new coming onto the board, they're coming on at the very end of the process on the planning board or on the select board. They may have very strong opinions on things that are happening or want to be involved in a way that they would not be allowed to based on the timing. But now that we have the set in stone first Monday in December, again, it's not something where it's sort of the will of the board, like we're going to get together in October for a couple of years. We're going to do December now, so that we can actually plan for it, and we give more runway for membership on elected boards to be involved in those planning and zoning decisions. It's an opportunity and an option that I just wanted to throw out there. By no means is it required, but in this draft that we have, it is almost all budget-related articles. There's a handful of articles that were related to planning that were considered or are in the process of being considered. Planning board's not moving on site plan review in time for the spring as it is anyway. That's one that they've taken a look at, I think, over a number of years. There's changes to the bylaw around the MS4 permit, which is stormwater related. And then the two other ones that have been floating out there around among town staff that were highlighted by a resident. The tree bylaw to make sure that replacement trees are of a similar caliper, thank you, at the average breast height. That's the other part I do, the ABH, to whatever happens to die or is destroyed accidentally, rather than replacing something that's gotten to be 4 inches with another 1 inch wispy thing. And this would only impact, it's for, the bylaw impacts places that have a landscape plan as part of their site plan, so it's really commercial and large residential. It's not something that impacts an individual homeowner for the most part. And then the noise bylaw is the other one that's been raised following the work with the UV pilot. Our terminology is a little off in that we don't account for the ambient noise. We're just going from absolute zero, so it's something that we need to address. And I guess, as I've been told at this point, I have not investigated personally, when there were questions about the sound emission on the roof deck, it was part of the sort of the rub and the give and take was, are you measuring it correctly based on the state law versus your bylaw? Does your bylaw appropriate? So that's another one that we would need to sort of flesh out more, but that was one of the other general bylaws that was considered as a potential inclusion this year. So the first question really, now that I've rambled through all that, is if you'd be open to the idea of moving the zoning-specific stuff to the fall as a practice, at least for this year, knowing that we really don't have anything planned, but also to allow us to load balance for town meeting members.
I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
Me too.
Makes a lot of
It's
sense.
a no-brainer, I think.
The only concern is there ever, do we look at risk as far as having quorums in the fall? In the fall, it's actually late
Now-
fall. Huh?
It's winter. It's
Yeah.
December.
Fall.
I think if you had zoning articles, though, you'd probably get more people,
Really?
because there'd be more substance in a way.
This is not just the shuffle, it's something in addition to.
Well, what is the opinion of the planning board?
So I've talked to Marzi about it. I have not gone to a planning board meeting to discuss this. They don't have anything to put forward right now anyway, because they're not doing site plan for this spring. So this is an opportunity to not only recognize what they have going on, but also allow us to plan a little better to make sure that, we get into a cadence that this makes sense.
It's a little bit academic at the moment, because there aren't really zoning things on here anyway, so it's not like we're moving something off here because of that.
Right.
so.
Well, it's almost better to do it now, because there isn't anything on here, so that they could be, so that when they want to put something forth, they're understanding the cadence that they have to prepare for, versus having something be at the table, and then it sort of feel like maybe a punishment or whatever, for it to go to a later town meeting. I think that's one of the reasons why it's a good opportunity to do it, because you're not putting them on a new timeline. And additionally, we have a new town administrator who would like to, have a little bit more, I think, have the meetings be a little bit more even and not have everything happening at one time, which sometimes, the annual town, well, I guess now they're both annual, but the spring town meeting could go three nights sometimes, especially if the budget discussion is robust. And that's a lot, especially for a person who pays for a babysitter for all 3 nights.
I had sent in an article on how the finance committee and the capital committee is appointed. I don't see that in here.
I did not include that. That's on me. I can add it.
And then the other question I have here is, this, what do you call it? Rodenticides?
Rodenticide.
Rodenticides.
I still would like to see that out of citizens and put into miscellaneous, or, yeah, I guess miscellaneous.
I thought we agreed to that.
They were gonna go back and look and see whether or not it was.
We were allowed to do that.
So it's a question of how you all want to organize it.
Yeah.
It's ultimately up to you all. We can,
So the citizen can withdraw if we put on the.
If we
on the
put
warrant
forth
regularly.
as part of the warrant,
Yeah.
if we
So-
commit to putting it forth as part of our warrant.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about where it lands on the warrant. So when I talked to Katie today about if there was something that we wanted to do, I think ultimately we would propose a warrant that is substantially or exactly the same. And that's the only time that you can sort of move through things or withdraw at that point. I don't think we can at this point because it's already qualified for the ballot. I mean, for the warrant. I apologize for the language.
I think we could absolutely take this article and move it into, just make a copy of this article and move it into our miscellaneous articles,
Mhm.
and then allow the petitioner to withdraw it at whatever point they want to withdraw it.
You're talking about the bonfire one?
No.
No, rodenticides. And why is this important, Mary Ellen? The difference is because you want it to be more of the stamp of the select board?
Yeah, I want it, and also because you've had different committees voice it, you've had a past town administrator bring this up,
It is already the policy of the town. This is to make sure that it's a bylaw so that
It has
if there was
place.
anyone in my role or
Right.
DPW
It's
or.
fine. Yeah.
right.
Okay, so I'll work through the.
Same thing with the foie gras, definitely.
No, not that.
How about wood fires?
No.
No, because the wood fires is not from the Board of Health.
These are all citizens petitions. What are we actually talking about here?
We're talking about moving the rodenticide citizens petition to a actual warrant articles that's being proposed by the select board. And
To the
having the
miscellaneous
citizen,
articles.
and having the citizen withdraw it as a citizen's petition, because we have all agreed to support it anyways.
These three citizens petitions?
Just the one.
Just
the
one,
rodenticide.
just the rodenticide one, sorry, the rodent one.
Just the first one.
Move it up to miscellaneous. So it's coming from the select board, not just a citizen, just a citizen.
We all voted on that one?
No, but when we talked about it was
We're
it?
talking about it now.
Right.
No, we also talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Right? That was already the policy of the town, that we
Right.
were already doing this.
Right,
That this was going to solidify the language that the state is now adopting.
right.
And having done that, we would consider just moving it on to the warrant as proposed by us, so that it would have potentially a weight bearing to town meeting, that we're behind it, and not that the citizen is behind.
I have no interest in that personally, but I mean, whatever the board decides, that's.
Okay, that clears
Okay.
that up. And I have the other one is this vet's money thing.
Wait, so I don't think it actually just cleared up. So are we moving it or are we not? Because Nick's got to have
I
direction.
thought we were moving it.
We're moving.
We are moving it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just want to make sure.
Okay, no
Go
problem.
ahead. What about the vet's money?
The vet's money. So when we took the vote, someone can go back in the minutes about setting up the fund. There was a particular language about a particular type of fund that we would be setting up for the money from B'nai B'rith when they pay the rent payment, that would go into a specific fund, so it would be there, clearly designated for the repair and rehabilitation of 89 Borough.
Okay, so the board
Yes.
voted that. We want to make sure that whatever
Yes,
steps that need to be taken are taken by town meeting so
Required-
that it has a place to go.
yes.
Got it.
I feel like
We will add that.
process-wise, it's a little, we maybe took that vote backwards because we need to fund those monies before they come in, not put them in a fund after they come in because we're reimbursing ourselves after.
No, I don't.
No, I think you're talking about the money that is received as a part of the CO.
Yes.
Them achieving the, let us look into it. We'll have an answer next week.
We
on-
won't have the money, it's not
But
gonna,
you wanted to-
needing the capital money. We still need that, because
Right.
assuming,
The cash flow issue.
right,
Right,
right.
right.
But I don't remember, Frank, I don't remember all the details. I mean,
So we'll take a look and
it's in the
see.
minutes, and
We'll see what we can
very
find if we have more
technical.
questions.
There were two technical options, and we voted for one, and how we were gonna do it, and so hopefully it's.
Okay.
You're just trying to codify it, right? And
Yeah,
really make
that's
sure
it.
that it's
That's it.
We will
properly.
review that
Following
agenda.
through on what we
Yes.
voted.
What was that,
Right, so
December,
you understand
December
that piece,
24,
right?
last
So you
meeting?
can.
That long ago?
I think so.
Okay.
December 24,
Yeah,
That's what David thinks.
most
it
likely.
was around that time, yeah. So is that, we want that for next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we meeting next week to open and close this warrant? We're gonna open it tonight.
Correct.
Open it tonight. Oh,
We have an
actually, should we have
agenda
voted?
next week, right?
Is
What?
there discussion? Okay.
What?
Yeah, we're opening it now, close next week, I guess.
We can close it at the end of the month as well. That would be
What's happening?
new members.
No, it would have to be the beginning of May. What date?
We have a meeting on the 29th, which is the day after the election.
We can figure it out. We'll see where we're at next week.
We're meeting next week, the 15th, right?
We could always have a brief meeting, whatever, if we needed to.
You just
those.
don't want to leave us.
No, I just want, finish our business, but whatever. Someone else can finish it, whatever.
So we'll move the citizens on
The rodenticide.
rodenticide.
Yes.
Look for the vote to make sure we're codifying it.
Yes.
There are placeholders in the drafted document that's in front of you for sound bylaw landscaping that were not complete. I will, for now, remove them with,
Great.
and send an updated draft that is focused on the budget and citizen petitions.
And please follow up with planning so that they understand
Of course.
the
If they-
cadence, so that they're not caught
If
off
it's
guard.
not the right thing to do, I will report that back.
Great.
Oh, this idea about the zoning is gonna remove the
So-
sound and landscaping?
Those are all still very actively being discussed by the individuals that raised it. And would need to put them before KP as well, which we could definitely turn around. But this idea would be that we would move all of that. And earth removal is looking at their bylaw to see changing. I think one of the big things Marzi said is the limits on the amount of earth that can be moved needs to be sort of adjusted. And it's more around development as opposed to earth removal in terms of like the ERAC group working directly with Amrise. This is around development at individual locations. So these are all things that have been in process and are not complete anyway. So again, part of why I was trying to take the opportunity to rebalance.
Okay.
Great.
That is a very innovative idea.
Is that one of the questions on the?
You can put that on his
Oh, you better, well,
observation.
I wasn't involved in that. I would have probably put that on there.
I'm sure you can shoehorn it in
I
there
could
somewhere
probably
for
put
me.
it under other.
Yep, there's a spot for comments, Mary Ellen. All right, everybody's good? Moving on
So
to,
we're not, so that's all we have to do?
Did you
is
vote
go
to
through
open?
We
it?
open.
oh, we want to vote to open?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to open the annual town meeting warrant.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Okay, great.
I was chewing.
So consider it open.
Important work being done.
We good now?
Lay it on my can.
Okay. Discussion and possible vote on, let's see, discussion and possible vote regarding the findings and recommendations from the investigation of a complaint.
So can I comment on this before we start?
I guess you may.
So the reason we have this on the warrant,
Agenda.
on the agenda, it's getting late, on the agenda is my responsibility. So I'd just like to start by saying that on the Wednesday evening before Thanksgiving, Katie Palin and I received an email from an individual accusing Mr. Grishman of hitting his car while parked at Vin and Liquors and Whole Foods. And I took it upon myself to walk into the police station to ensure that they received the email. Even though I did forward the email to the police chief and the town administrator, I still violated the code of conduct by getting further involved. And for this, I apologize to Mr. Grishman, the select board, and Mr. Grishman, the select board in the town. And in the future, I will do better. That's my comment.
All right. we go from there, guys? So I guess a little context. Mary Ellen gave a little bit of context. So Mr. Gershman put forward an allegation that somebody, he did not know who, went to the police station and with an email, put forward, the only two folks on the email were Ms. Fletcher and I, and he asked us to put forward an investigation to determine sort of what occurred during that interaction. To be clear, I want to say that the matter of investigation is not Mr. Gershman and what occurred or did not occur in the parking lot. The police handled that in normal course, and that was not the matter as of the investigation. The matter was simply to determine what occurred and what was asked in the police station that evening. There is an investigation. It will be made public. We met in executive session and agreed that it would be made public because it was paid for by taxpayer dollars in order to determine sort of what occurred. For the purposes of protecting members of the public and employees, there are certain items redacted from the investigation. And the recommendations of the investigation were listed out for us to discuss in executive session. And one of, the results of the investigation is obviously the apology that Mary Ellen just read. Appreciate that, Mary Ellen. And taking ownership for and responsibility to some of the facts in the allegations. So, is there further comments or discussions?
I guess I would say I also appreciate, Mary Ellen, you making that statement. I do think that there were two parts to the situation. And I'm wondering whether or not you would agree with that, or you're specifically feeling that there's only there's only one infraction of the handbook. Because as the independent investigation indicated, there was one about, and I'm going to read just so I'm not misquoting or misparaphrasing. So there's a paragraph in the Code of Conduct says, conduct in relation to town staff. Town officials must understand that town staff do not take direction from any individual official on any matter. Therefore, officials should refrain from giving instructions to or requesting assistance from town staff. All such requests should only go through the chair of the officials committee, the town administrator, or the chair of the officials appointing authority. So I have to admit, when you read what you just read, I didn't quite catch exactly whether or not you felt as though you were addressing that or didn't feel like that was relevant.
I felt that I was addressing it, and I think I'm pretty clear here that we're sitting here and we're talking about this, and it's my responsibility, and I apologize.
So, the context here was that the police department official felt as though they were being given direction to undertake this, and clearly, through multiple conversations in the Code of Conduct, we're all in extreme agreement that the only person we give direction to in all of town is the town administrator. And we want to make sure that we only leave that impression with anybody and everybody, that that's the only person that we direct all of our communications through, and we don't want anyone to feel as though they're being instructed otherwise without the town.
Right, I think no employee should feel that a select board member is telling them to do a job or telling them to do something.
And then the second piece is conduct in relation to other town officials, which states in pertinent part. Town officials shall treat the members of all other boards and committees with respect despite potentially conflicting roles and differences of opinion. Concerns about the conduct of another official should be privately directed to the select board chair or where appropriate to the town administrator. And I think I picked up in what you said that you did address that piece.
Yes, I would say I addressed that piece. So I want to thank Mary Ellen for actually owning this and admitting fault, right? Because it's not easy to do. And none of us are perfect humans. And, so I give you a lot of credit for doing that, for owning it and saying it was wrong. That doesn't take away the fact that I personally am incredibly annoyed to have to even have this conversation or to have this be a thing. And it's part of what I've been saying for a long time, that we can all disagree. We all have very vehemently, publicly, we've had differences of opinion. But we absolutely have to chart a different course going forward. And I've said it in relation to our interboard relations with school committee, with finance, school versus town, all of these narratives, and this goes to the heart of it. So, sure, this is very specific to this one incident. David and I don't agree on a lot of things over the years. None of us do on this board, but I am disheartened that I have to even have this conversation and that this even came up, because this took it to a new level, and it's disappointing, right? I am really, really encouraged by the fact that Mary Ellen is owning it and recognizing that it wasn't the right thing to do. But I do think that we as a board, if we cannot hold each other accountable, then we have nothing. There's zero here, right? We have to hold ourselves in a different category than the people we represent in this town, right? And if we can't be better, then we shouldn't be here, plain and simple. This took a different turn because this could have been a really serious criminal situation for someone, for a member of this board that had no idea this was coming and, quite frankly, didn't really deserve it. So I'm upset we got to this point, but I'm also glad that we're doing this publicly and we're owning it and we're committing to being better. But I really want that to stick, right? And I don't want this to be a one-off where we're talking about it and it's going to go away. I want our relationship building in this town to change. And it starts here with this board, and it starts now with this. And that means how we talk to each other, how the respect we have for town staff, for school staff, the professional courtesies we extend, and to stop overreaching, overstepping, and coming out of our lanes and understanding our roles, right? This was, an odd situation. It just isn't a norm. It's an outlier, I hope. But we signed a code of conduct, we signed a handbook. Like, I am not here to tell anybody in this town what to do, or to assume a position of power that I don't have, right? We have a collective power amongst us together as a group. We don't unilaterally have this, overwhelming sense of tell people what to do, it's just got to stop. Right, so that's the request I have, and I feel badly that we're even spending time on this when we have so many other pressing things to deal with in this town. But at the same time, I'm glad we're clearing it up.
Yep, and I just, I just wanted to, I filed the complaint. I wanted to make sure that this does not happen to other select board members, other volunteers, other members of town staff, other residents who, it's a complete subversion of the chain of command. It's a complete abuse of power. to have a select board member walk in to the Swampscott Police Department on the day before Thanksgiving, the evening before Thanksgiving, and say, I want to get this guy. And that's in the report. And that's chilling to me. It's chilling to my family. And it should be chilling to everyone, who's listening. And this isn't the first time that this individual has been engaged in these types of behaviors. But this is.
Mr. Grishman.
Excuse
So
me.
here we go. You're making accusations.
Excuse me.
That's what you do all the time. You
Excuse me.
make
Let me-
accusations over
Mary
and
Ellen,
over.
Mary Ellen, let me
I've got the
finish-
list
let me
of them
finish-
here.
Let me finish speaking, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So this isn't the first time that she has gone to department heads or other people and requested things and used her power to elicit some type of response. Again, this is.
I'm sorry, but if you don't have facts in front of you, he's just going at this again. You just keep doing this.
This is abuse of power, Mary Ellen.
This is your.
I want to get
business.
this
Just
guy.
Throw things out there and hope that they're going to stick. You constantly make comments. I mean, July 22nd, you literally at this meeting, you made slanderous comments towards Gino Cresta and Katie Phelan. This is what you do. You make these comments. You want to make a comment? Then just make sure there's facts to back it up.
Mary Ellen, you're just deflecting from your responsibility here, and I appreciate your apology, but I think this entire board wants to ensure that your behavior is corrected, and that when 2 new board members come on in a few weeks, that
Thank God.
your behavior isn't repeated. Because it is completely and utterly unacceptable. And it has been for a long time. You just got caught this time.
Well, I will say this. The behavior that occurred in this allegation is unacceptable. And as a board, we signed a code of conduct and we agreed to hold ourselves to that standard. And that is what we did here. And it's unfortunate that we had to do that. And my commitment is to continue to do that if that is what needs to be done. And it is important for 2 new members to come on and understand that it's not just a piece of paper you're signing, and that we're going to hold each other accountable to it, and that we're going to have a transparent process if we fail. Nobody's perfect. We all have failings. And so when there is a failing, we're going to be transparent about it, and we're going to hold each other accountable to it. And that is what is happening here. And that is the commitment I make to the community at large, because that's what you hired us to do. So if there's no further discussion, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I need 2 things taken out of the consent agenda,
Which 2 things?
and that is, I don't have the March 18th. I didn't get the March 18th minutes. Need to get that. And would you pull out the March 2nd minutes?
So the request is for the consent agenda to remove March 2nd and March 18th, and the vote the motion I will entertain now is approval of the consent agenda minus those 2 items. Anybody?
Can I apologize. I just took note of the spending limit on the recreation revolving fund. I apologize. So either we can pull that out and just have a brief discussion
Increase
about
the
it?
spending limit of the rec revolving fund for the current fiscal year pursuant to MGL Chapter 53E
Yeah.
1/2,
I
or half, unclear if that's
I
what that
didn't
is.
catch that. Do we have that in here anywhere?
I didn't see that either at all.
Okay, so can we just pull that out?
Yeah, we'll pull it out. Okay, let's approve the consent agenda with that being pulled out, and then we'll move that to old and new business, and we'll have a conversation about it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the minutes, we will just move to the next week's consent agenda. We'll talk about the increased spending limit. Nick?
Yeah, so the increase in the spending limit, and I was looking for the exact number, I have not yet found it. You put it, at each town meeting, we set the cap for the revolving accounts. We talked about this in like my first or second meeting when we were going into Clark, that we anticipated that we would exceed that limit because we were adding programming and thus adding expense because we pay for the instructors, we pay for the space prior to Clark, whatever the case may be. We're at the point now that we don't want to pass the limit prior to the end of the fiscal year. So we're raising it mid-year. The only way it can be raised is a vote of the select board and the finance committee. Whereas for town meeting, we will have an updated number for next year that reflects what we anticipated actually being with.
So we can do it without town, like we could pass it, they could go above it even before town meeting votes.
Correct.
Only temporarily.
It's only for this fiscal year.
And us and FinCom.
If you and FinCom both do it.
Yes.
And FinCom has it tentative, it's on their
Okay.
agenda so that if you all talked about it.
But there's no number in here.
I'm looking for the number right now, as I said, if I could.
Yes, please.
Well,
Have
you
a
guys,
moment.
if I could just have a moment to try to find it, I was having trouble actually reading my phone.
Shannon, for the consent agenda next week, could you please, I believe because the appointment of Joseph Blood to the Poet Laureate Committee is replacing me as the select board appointment, because this is the high school student that is coming on that we did not have, and I was sitting in the seat for a period of time because we did not have a high school student. So I'm unsure. I will formally resign publicly through this commentary right now. If that is not enough and you need to put something on the consent agenda next week, just let me know and but I will formally resign to make room for Mr. Blood.
I also have a question on the approval. Can you take out on the consent, just take out approval on?
We already did it.
The bagel?
We just voted.
We just voted.
It's a hawker's license that
We already
everything
approved
was
it.
in order as of yesterday, I believe.
You want to reconsider the vote?
Yeah, I want to reconsider the vote because, well, first, let me just, on a hawker's license, a person can just go anywhere in town and set up?
There were requests about the actual location that he would like to use. Police provided
Police have
feedback.
provided
Told him
feedback.
exactly where.
Where did I go wrong here? Where did I see it? Because here's the packet.
We did not provide you the information that the police provided with locations because.
I don't have anything in the packet.
There's the Hawker apps.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know if you got your packet early and
Here's
maybe
my
then-
packet, yeah.
On the back, it says a Hawker application?
Huh? Yeah. On the one that I just was handed tonight. Right, I was just handed this, so, yeah, so you know what, I have a problem with
We
giving out.
actually do have, it says, this is the area you'd like to park his bus, and then he said, we actually do have that email in this packet, right here, where it says, thank you for supplying the photographs, please be aware you cannot park 20 feet within an intersection, please be aware to avoid any chapter 90 issues regarding idling vehicles for more than 5 minutes. Our recommendation to ensure your truck is not facing traffic, it's faced towards the B-sides, as long as you park on the post office side of the curb, that should be permissible. If there are any public safety concerns or hazards, we reserve the right to restrict your vehicle in the location it's parked. Please let me know if there's anything else we can do. Have a wonderful day, Ruben.
All right, so where is this going again? I'm sorry, this is just, actually, I'm not sorry, this just was just given tonight.
Okay, does anybody, Mary Ellen can make a motion to reconsider the vote. If everybody wants to reconsider the vote, we can remove it from the consent agenda. Otherwise, we've already voted. So does anybody want to entertain Mary Ellen's motion?
No.
Doug? Danielle? No. Okay. So we've passed it.
Okay.
It's not
It
for-
just, in the
not for
future,
reconsideration.
is, can I get stuff in advance? Because just keep being handed this tonight.
No, Mary Ellen, we all get stuff at the same time, right? So
No, actually,
it's our responsibility to look at
I
what we
picked
have.
this up I picked up my packet on Friday.
Right?
It wasn't in my packet.
Okay, but it was tonight. So
It was handed out just before the meeting started. I mean, what I'm saying is, can I have information prior to the beginning of a meeting?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously. So,
We're talking about a consent agenda here. This is not.
This is simple stuff.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because having vendors just parking, can the vendor just park in front of the new bakery? Can the vendor park in front of, one of our operating, retail establishments? I'm trying to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the businesses in this town. We do not make any tax revenue whatsoever with somebody that comes in and just pulls up and starts selling their goods.
Okay, so this particular hawker is in frequent communication with the chief of police and town hall about where he will be parking and what is allowed, and we have not had an issue thus far. So,
Okay.
did you find the number?
Yes, it's currently 500. We're raising it to 650 so that we do not have to come back in the next 2 months for any reason whatsoever. It is only money that comes in.
500,000 and 650,000.
Correct.
Right.
It's only for money that comes in that goes out to pay for things. It is not something where we're spending that. This is money in, money out, but we have a cap on every revolving account so that we can over time build up retained earnings in any of them, and this is one of those ways that we protect it. The 650 is just meant to make sure we're not coming back to you or the finance committee again as we get into hiring and planning and paying for things going into the summer.
Yeah, and as there's increased programming at the Clark School, there's increased
Yeah, and
need to.
summer's the busiest schedule
yeah,
for programming, so this is a great problem
It
to
makes-
have.
it makes
And
sense.
I applaud the rec director for having to get us to this point, because the revolving fund has been flowing in and out well.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Select board report and comments. Would anybody like to make a comment that they haven't made yet tonight? Great, seeing none.
I would like to thank Neil Beisheimer and Emilio Rodriguez for being here tonight, and Joe Roulette, once again. That's it.
Perfect.
I had I think I mentioned this to you kind of in passing, but I'd like to make a formal request. If I would meant to ask Max, since he was here today, I don't know if, based on everything we're talking about, if he would be back next week or not, but I would love to get an update on whether it's from the Climate Action Committee, which I could probably check with that, or from Max, probably most appropriately, where we stand on the potential for the $1 million+ $1 million plus grant opportunity from Climate Leader.
You did not mention this to me. Mention this to me?
You what?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask him. I should be able to give that update. In addition, we're submitting Green Communities grant for weatherization in a few different buildings. It's part of the normal annual course that we'll be submitting at the end of this week.
Yeah.
So, don't we have a policy, we have a policy in place where we're supposed to be
Seeing grants that
seeing
are
grants
over a
and
certain
approving
dollar amount.
grants over $50,000?
$50,000.
Oh, these under 50,000?
I'll have to check.
Anybody else? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
No, you have to make it.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Danielle is the first. David, will you second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.